working? It is!
Oh my god, I almost... Oh! Oh my god. I almost spilled lemonade all over my keyboard.
It's me! What was unsettling? The Eternal Parade has almost... Don't break another shift key! Don't worry, I caught it before. It kind of like teetered a little bit, but all's good. Hello, everyone! I swear, oh my god, I think it's my OBS that's being weird. It teetored! It's like the whole screen's flickering. It's kind of freaky. What? Pourquoi? French shouldn't be... French should not be allowed right now. Okay, that's fine. Oh, j'ai dit bonjour. Oh. Non, c'est moi. C'est moi. Summer Maruzensky is, elle est bien. Elle est bien. Bonjour, 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 bonjour. J'aime Maruzensky. Maruzensky est mon ami. Elle est... Croissant! Croissant! Oui, aujourd'hui, on doit lire... Oh! Oups. Je suis ici encore. Qu'est-ce qui arrive? Qu'est-ce qui arrive? Bonjour. Andrew. Qu'est-ce qui arrive? Oh mon dieu. Okay. 1 second. I lost my warrior cats. Je sais pas pourquoi. Mon dieu. Oh mon dieu. Oh. Français. Français, 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 français. Français. Doesn't Doto come out soon? Doto? Doto? C'est quoi Doto? Doto. Doto. Game. Dota? Pokemon. Non, c'est moi. Je dois, mais je suis en français maintenant. J'ai besoin de... 5 minutes is so long, guys. Deux minutes. Oh my god. I do. I used to have like things that would show up on my face. I think I used to have a baguette too. J'ai besoin de parler français comme ça. Oh no! Tooth. Can it be over? Guys, it's so hard to do French. It shouldn't have triggered on Warrior Cat Day. Bad joke!
Oh my god, I almost dropped it again.
Oh, what is happening? What is happening? Mwah! I keep on almost dropping it. Okay, dad joke. Inu. I wanted it to be over. I have an Ume question need answered. Was it the Maruzensky? Okay. That one's an old one. I don't think people are gonna understand it. I did not. Today is reading day. My friend Pete believes he was reincarnated from a previous life. We call him Repeat. Get it? Get it because it's repeat, but also repeat, like R-E-Pete. Why am I wearing a hat? I just threw something at me. All right, French is completely over, for real, for real. Ow, ow, no, no! That was a good one. I'm barely able to read this'll be confusing. Okay, things to now I can reply to people in the chat. Okay, so 1, Maruzensky is really good, apparently. I don't actually know. I just know that people say she's good. Hi, Lizzie. I only know that. And what else? Right. The book today. We're reading Warrior Cats, A Forest Divided. And this is a new book we haven't read for a while. And I genuinely can't remember what was going on exactly last book. So luckily they like to tell us what was going on in the previous book, so that's good. The forest is divided. It is. I only pulled on the summer banner because I heard she was good and ended up getting both. I know, I saw it. Wasn't fair. You got Special Week too. Special Week isn't supposed to be as good, but she's so cute. She's so cute. Okay, what else have I missed? Bar jackpaws. So, oh, you need some chocolate? I've been in the mood for some chocolate too. It's similar. Ooh. And then Andrew got your molar out, but you also got a new phone, which is good. Like, you got a reward for getting your tooth out almost. What else do we go? Uma lady, French baguette. All right, there we go. We're good. We're good. We're good. I'm trying to decide if I want to just hold on to carrots or get my single pull on the Meisho Doto bag. You could give one more pull. Dawardo. Hi, Random. You could give a little pull. I managed to pull Maruzensky after a very disappointing pull where I got nothing. And I had like leftover. I think I had 400 carrots left. And I was so desperate. I was like, I'm just going to use up all my carrots. And I did single pulls until I got her. Mwah! You can't eat or drink for another 36 hours. That seems excessive. No, wait, you got your molar out, so you should be able to drink. It's mostly the chewing that is what disrupts it, right? You want to get your concussion? You can get it, can't you? I feel like you should be able to. Alright, guys. I know Ven is here too. Hi, Ven! Ven's lost somewhere. You went to a concert with your mom. Aww. What concert was it? Or maybe that'll dox you. You don't have to answer that. Hi! Was it fun? That's a better question. Was it fun? Actually, just woke up from a nap and struggling to sleep. I had a nap too. At 2 o'clock, I decided I was gonna take a nap, and then I woke up like 10 minutes before stream. I highly doubt anyone here knowing where the concert was will impact my safety. Lafe. I don't know who Lafe is. But I'm glad it was good! That's crazy! Oh my god, we napped we synced our naps! That's fun. I have good news? No, I have bad news. The bad news is, I thought I was gonna be able to stream on Friday, but my manager called me today and he was like, hey, the other person who does your job had surgery and is in the hospital and wants 5 days off to recover. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And then he was like, you have to do full days until she's back. And I was like, that's fair. So I can't stream on Friday. Unless I have, like, a lot of sugar, I guess, because that's another thing I discovered recently. So I've been drinking a lot of energy drinks, right? Thinking, oh yeah, energy drink caffeine is the only caffeine that works. Logically, right? Like, yeah, that makes sense. For some reason, not coffee caffeine works, but only energy drink caffeine. Anyway, so I was drinking that, and then I had like this energy drink that was 0 sugar, but it sounded really good, like the flavoring, and I was tired of the flavors I was getting. So nice juice. Oh wait, it's not on this screen for some reason. Hold on. And what was it? Oh, and so I had it, and it was 0 sugar, and it was like nothing. Like nothing happened. It didn't work at all. And I was like, this sucks. Why isn't it working? And I discovered, or at least I finally put together that it was because there was no sugar. And the reason why coffee doesn't work is because I don't put sugar in it. And also that iced coffee works because they put sugar in it to make it sweeter. So there we go. Don't tip the lemonade again. I put it a little further away. A little further away. Good things come to those who wait. The book reading will be awesome. Yes! Reading time. I finally decided to look at the map. Oh wait, I remember how it ended. Tall Shadow wanted to move locations. Tall Shadow's camp, Windrunner's camp, River Ripple's camp, Clear Skies. Clear Skies camp is really far away from Tall Shadow's camp. Dang. If I disappear, you know what happened. Sleeping. That time for you guys. Alright, let's start reading because yeah, that's the purpose. We gotta get. What did I eat today? I ate oatmeal and instant noodles. So why does chat look like a bunch of e-girls trying to be all cat-like? It's the Warrior Cat Wednesday chat. So funny. Hello, Jesus! Should I call you Jesus? Jesus? Of Rock. Hello! You've read the entire series? Oh my god. We've only read up to this book right here. So anything beyond that is technically a spoiler for me. A Zeus of Rock. Okay, let's read. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. I haven't read... Okay, disclaimer ahead of time. I have not read Warrior Cats for at least a good month. So I might be pretty not good at reading for a little bit until I get back into the zone. We can't really remember what happened last time either, so luckily, because it's the first book, or like a new book, they'll summarize what happened in the previous, like, what, 4 books? This is the second last book of this series, by the way. Wow. We're almost done, Dawn of the Clans. And then we can go back into our main cast. Okay. Prologue. Hey, wait! I'm waiting. Mothlight's vision? Oh yeah! True! We're supposed to read Mothlight's vision after we're done reading all the Dawns of the Clan because it explains the medicine cat. You're right, Ben. All right. I didn't forget. All right, let's go again. Prologue. Also, Jesus of Rock, true. Dr. Pepper is very yummy. Okay. Get comfy, everyone. Cold mist pooled in the moonlit hollow. It swirled like water around the paws of the cats pacing restlessly beneath the oaks. Clear Sky watched them from the edge of the clearing. Their pelts seemed to sparkle as though dusted with starlight. He shivered as he caught sight of Greywing, waiting at the far side of the clearing. The dead outnumber the living, Clear Sky thought, as he glanced towards the shallow mound at the edge of the hollow. Beneath the slow-setting earth lay the bodies of cats he once hunted beside, killed in the great battle. The spirit cats paused and glanced at him, then began moving once more, murmuring to one another in hushed whispers. Above them, the 4 great oaks creaked in the wind, their frost-whitened branches stripped clean by the cold. Leaf Bear gripped the earth like a wolf holding prey. The earth felt like stone beneath Clear Sky's paws. Couldn't the spirit cats have summoned him into a green leaf clearing where warm winds could bathe his fur? After all, this was a dream. A dark gray she-cat split from the others and padded towards him. You came. Yes, Storm, I came. Clear Sky's heart ached with a familiar grief. How different his life would be now if he hadn't let her leave the forest when she was heavy with kits. But why have you called me here? Storm's gaze hardened. We're growing tired of waiting. Waiting? For what? Before Clear Sky could ask, breaking cracked on the slope. River Ripple was pushing his way through the frosty stems, his thick gray pelt silvered by the moonlight as he made his way down the smooth earth at the bottom. Close by, a tall shadow blinked near the roots of an oak. She looked surprised as though just awakening. Thunder's ginger pelt glowed in the shadows. The spirit cats must have summoned all the leaders to the stream. Fur brushed the frost-wilted grass behind Clear Sky, and he turned to see Windrunner slip silently past him. She had separated from Greywing's group. Had the spirit cats called her too? Clear Sky shifted his paws uneasily. The living stood separately while the dead stood together. Were the spirit cats all that united them now? Well? Storm's sharp mew jerked him back from his thoughts. What? We told you to grow and spread like the blazing star. Storm glanced back at the living cats. You haven't begun yet. Is fear holding you back? Never! Clear Sky puffed out his chest. But how far can we spread? We already rule the forest and the moor. We recruit more cats wherever we can. He thought of how his own group had grown since the last dream. It's not enough! An angry mew sounded beside Storm. Clear Sky stepped back in surprise as he looked down and recognized the clear, bold gaze of a young cat he thought he'd never see again. The last time he'd seen this kit, her brown pelt had clung to jutting ribs. Hunger had killed her in the mountains before she'd ever left their mother's nest. Oh my god. The baby's here?
Now she stood chin high, eyes blazing. Her sleek pelt sparkled in the starlight. Firm muscles showed beneath. His throat tightened as he gazed at his younger sister. "Fluttering Bird," he rasped. "It's you!"
Of course it's me!
Her yellow eyes blazed. I must go speak with Thunder." Storm dipped her head and backed away, leaving Clear Sky alone with his sister. "It's so good to see you." Fluttering Bird cut Clear Sky off.
"Listen, you mouse heart!"
Clear Sky stiffened. She was still a kid. How dare she speak to him like that? And yet, he frowned, puzzled. How long had she been with the spirit cats? She still looked like a kid, but she could see things he couldn't. His pelt rippled uneasily. Could his younger sister be wiser than him now? She held his gaze.
There were still leaves on the trees when he told you to spread like the blazing star. You talked about it, but you've done nothing.
"We've survived," Clear Sky argued. "Food is scarce and leaf bears here."
Fluttering Bird's ears twitched. "You should be thinking of your kits and your kits' kits. Strength doesn't come from cowering in hollows and glades like frightened prey."
Clear Sky leaned over her, pelt bristling. "I never cower."
"Then act!"
Fluttering Bird stood her ground.
"Follow your hearts. They will lead you home."
Clear Sky frowned. "You want us back in the mountains?"
"Not your old home."
"Then where?"
"We can't make every paw step for you. That will weaken you all. We have told you all you need to know."
Fluttering Bird's gaze scorched into his.
"Now you must start thinking for yourselves."
Clear Sky stared past her, his gaze lighting on Tall Shadow as she shared words with Moon Shadow, Hawk Swoop, and Jackdaw's Cry. Windrunner was with her lost kits. She nuzzled them, and he could hear her urgent purr throbbing through the cold night air. Her mew was sharp with grief. My dear kids, come closer. We won't be together for long." Thunder paced to and fro, lifting his head eagerly as Storm padded to join them. Fox, Petal, and Frost cowered around River Ripple, their soft mews lost in the breeze. Greywing was several tail lengths away, speaking with Shaded Moss and Turtletail. How separate they seemed. "We traveled here together," Clear Sky murmured, half to himself, "but now we don't even share prey." Sadness tugged his belly.
"And who's to blame for that?"
Fluttering Bird growled.
"You turned against your own."
"That's not true." It is," he snapped back. "I've always done what I thought was the best. I tried to take care of my own."
"Then why do you stand here alone?"
Fluttering Bird demanded.
"Why do you have to care for you? Or who do you have to care for you?"
Clear Sky swallowed, unable to answer. Greywing seemed suddenly far away, the clearing stretching like a deep gorge between them. Thunder had not even met his eye since arriving in the hollow. Clear Sky knew they still silently blamed him for the battle, and for taking One Eye into his group, and nurturing him until he became a threat to all the cats. There was a time when they wanted to be near him, but he had driven them away, and now? Would any of them come now if he needed them? He stared at Fluttering Bird. Was she trying to hurt him? "Why are you saying this?"
"You have followed your head, not your heart, Clear Sky." She flicked her tail. "Each cat here has a home waiting, even you. But you have to find it for yourself, and you must find it soon."
How? Where was home? How would they know when they found it?
"Follow your hearts."
Fluttering Bird began to fade before his eyes. He stiffened. "Not yet." The other cats were fading too, growing transparent as the dream began to disappear. The stars blurred above his head and the hollow grew hazy. "Fluttering Bird!" Clear Sky struggled to see her. "Where should our hearts lead?" "Who do you have to care for you?" Her words rang in his mind. Did she want him to be close to his kin once more? Perhaps the only way to spread and grow like the blazing star was to join forces, be like a tribe once more. Darkness swamped him, and he blinked open his eyes. He was back in his nest again. He gazed across the moonlit hollow where the forest cats had made their camp, his hackles smooth as calm enfolded around him. "I understand." Fluttering Bird was trying to tell him how foolish he'd been to split from the others and mark his own territory. Determination surged through him. Wide awake now, he stood and crossed the clearing. He slipped past the brambles that shielded the camp, then bounded out of the forest. Starlight sparkled on his pelt as he glanced up at the sky. I understand now, fluttering bird. I must draw the cats close, together once more, so that we can grow strong and spread like the blazing star.
I'm not sure that's what she meant. And also, hasn't, like, everybody told you that, dude?
You literally tried to kill your brother, Clear Sky, right? That's not what they said, buddy.
Fluttering Bird, she, like, actually said, you guys figured it out, but you haven't done anything.
And he was like, yeah, but it's cold outside. Baby, it's cold outside.
Hi, Brandon! Welcome in. Even though that's late. If you do end up reading Varjack Paw, you can listen to it on Audible.
Oh, Otibel.
Did you see your question? About marriage? Or how I am. I'm doing good.
I am gonna close OBS because it keeps flickering and I do not know why the heck. Maybe if I make it tinier?
You like to come to your wedding in 8 years. Are you engaged now and you're planning for you're planning for your wedding? Or are you just planning that you are gonna have a wedding in exactly 8 years? Okay, I tabbed out of OBS, so I cannot see OBS. If anything messes up, you guys have to tell me, okay? Congrats, Brandon! Happy engagement! What is wrong with... Okay, it seems like it is my monitor that is being stanky. Okay. I closed everything except the chat, so I think it should be okay and it won't flicker anymore. I'm gonna start getting like a headache from how flickering it is. Okay. Chapter 1. Clear Sky's like... He's dumb, but also he's... Pay for my flight? I think maybe we're a little too early yet. 8 years is quite some time. Maybe in 8 years. Akimo. If you still remember me. Chapter 1.
Clear Sky yawned and stretched his forepaws until they trembled. He looked over the edge of his nest. A biting wind sliced beneath the arching root, which usually shielded him as he slept. It nipped his ears and he narrowed his eyes against his sting as he gazed over the clearing. Quickwater was crossing the camp, her fur fluffed up against the cold. I have to remember all these cats again. Quickwater was in Tall Shadow's place, right? She's Lightning Tail's sister? At least I'm guessing.
Hi, Party Box.
A shriveled mouse hung from her jaws. Birch and alder peeked out from beneath the low, spreading yew. Petal had made her nest beneath its dark green branches after she'd adopted them. Their own mother had been killed, and they hardly remembered her scent. Oh, dang. Now Petal was dead. My roommate started saying, oh, acorn fur. Okay, Quickwater. Oh, Quickwater was from the tribe. Okay. Now Petal was dead too, taken by the sickness that had swept the forest before Leaf Bear had come. Birch and alder had nearly died, but the blazing star had saved them. The blazing star. Clear Sky felt a pang of grief. If only Starflower had told them about it sooner. It was the only healing herb that could cure the sickness. Now it shaped their future. It stood and shook out of... Oh, he stood and shook out his fur as Alder and Birch hurried out to meet Quickwater.
Is that for us?
Birch's eyes were hopeful. His sister, Alder, dipped her head to Quickwater.
If you tell us where you found it, we could go and catch our own.
The littermates were almost full-grown, lithe and fast, and always eager to hunt. Clear Sky felt proud of the cats they'd become, and was pleased that he'd decided to let Petal take them in. Don't be squirrel-brained. Quickwater dropped the mouse at their paws. We can share this one and hunt together later. Alder and Birch blinked at her gratefully. Clear Sky felt a prickle of worry as he watched them crouched close to Quickwater, taking turns to snatch a bite of the skinny prey. Prey was scarce. The sickness had killed much of it, and the forest was eerily silent, even for Leaf Bear. He shook the chill from his fur and hopped out of his nest. He'd wandered in the forest until dawn and had returned to rest, weary from the cold. The memory of the dream had followed him into sleep. Fluttering Bird wanted the cats to join together. I don't think so.
I don't think she said that. I think she said follow your heart.
They must be like the blazing star and gather like petals around the heart of a flower. He was sure of it. It made sense. If the cold had reached this deep into the forest, it would be bitter on the high moor. And with play so scarce, the moor cats would surely freeze or starve if they'd stayed in the hollow. They'd be safer here, sheltered by the trees, hunting together, as Flutterbird had ordered. He must tell them. Perhaps they already know? For the first time, he wondered what the spirit cats had shared with the others. Hope flickered in his belly. Perhaps they were already ready to unite. He slid out from beneath the root, a snarled bark scraping his spine, and padded across the frozen earth. Pink Eyes was crouching in the shelter.
That is not a good name.
Pink Eyes? Of the spreading hollies, squinting against the wind. Tiny flecks of snow swirled in the air and clung to his fur. Pink Eyes' tail twitched with annoyance, and he drew his paws tighter under him. Clear Sky nodded to him. "Where's Blossom?" he asked. The old Tom had arrived at the border with the tortoiseshell and white she-cat when the moon was only a scratch of silver in the sky, not long after the battle with One Eye. "Still asleep," Pink Eyes answered, flicking his muzzle towards the holly bush. In the shadows beneath, Clear Sky could make out Blossom's pelt. When she was awake, the young she-cat hardly stood still. She was skittish and full of energy. When Clear Sky had first met her, she'd been leaping for a dead leaf as it fluttered towards the forest floor, while Pink Eyes sat a few tail lengths away. His thin white tail curled neatly over two dead mice. He'd stood when Clear Sky had approached, and had spoken before Clear Sky had a chance to challenge them for loitering near his border. "May we join your group?"
Thanks, Brandon.
There had been a time when Clear Sky would have driven the two strays from his border, especially Pink Eyes, whose sight was so poor he couldn't see a bird in a tree. But these cats had respected his scent line and kept their hackles soft. And Clear Sky had learned that friends were better than enemies, so they joined the group, and Clear Sky was soon glad that they had. Pink Eye's weak eyesight had strengthened his other senses. The White Tom could hear a mouse in the next glade and smelled a rabbit through a patch of wild garlic. Alder looked up from her meal, her splotchy gray and white pelt prickling where tiny snowflakes had settled along her spine. As she licked her lips, her gaze flashed towards Pink Eye's twitching tail. Clear Sky saw mischief light up in her eyes. She lunged and grabbed it, rolling onto her back. With a purr, she began pummeling it playfully with her hind legs. "Aw." "Hey!" Pink Eyes turned on her angrily. "Chase your own tail!"
Why?
Alder froze, her paws in the air, and blinked at him innocently.
I'm not a dog.
Pink Eyes glared at her. "And my tail isn't prey." Birch padded to his sister's side, his ginger pelt bright in the weak morning light. "I just wish prey was so easy to catch," he said lightly. The old Tom snorted and marched away. He circled in a sheltered spot between the roots of an oak, and then sat down and stared pointedly at Birch and Alder. The brambles at the far end of the camp rattled. Nettle padded through the gap at one side. His thick gray pelt was damp. Acorn fur followed after him, a battered starling hanging from her jaws. Okay, I got confused because Ven had just said that acorn fur was Lightning Tail's sister, and in my head I was like, that means Acorn Fur has already arrived here. But she was not accounted for. Acorn Fur followed him, a battered starling hanging from her jaws. Leaf padded after them, carrying a scrawny squirrel. I've never seen prey so scarce. Nettle padded past his campmates and stopped beside Clear Sky. I don't know how we'll make it to New Leaf. Anxiety wormed in Clear Sky's belly, and Alder and Birch were staring hungrily at Acorn's first starling. I lost my spot. Quickwater's mouse clearly hadn't filled their bellies. We must survive. Clear Sky glanced through the trees. Was there more prey on the moor? Suddenly, the boundaries he'd fought so hard to establish seemed to trap him. We need to share what we have, not guard it. Fluttering Bird must have known that. I'm going to Greywing's camp, he told Nettle. Nettle's ear twitched. Why? Clear Sky shifted his paws. Nettle had fought beside him to keep the boundaries they'd made. What would he say if he heard Clear Sky had suddenly decided that the cats should share their land and live as one group? He would understand once he knew. That it was what the spirit cats wanted. But there wasn't time to explain now. I want to see Jagged Peak's kits. This was true. He hadn't visited his brother's litter yet. The weather's closing in. Nettle glanced at the thick yellow clouds crowding the treetops. There'll be heavy snow before the day's out, and if the wind picks up... Clear Sky interrupted. I came from the mountains, remember? I'm used to getting snow in my whiskers. Nettle shrugged. It's your pelt. He glanced across the clearing as Blossom slid out from beneath the holly. Do I smell prey? She asked brightly. Her gaze swiveled towards Acorn Fur. Acorn Fur dropped her starling. There's not much, but we can share. Leaf laid his squirrel on the ground. It'll do for now. His mew was cheerful, but Clear Sky could see the worry darkening his gaze. The sooner he persuaded the cats they'd be safer working together, the better. He headed for the gap in the brambles. Make sure Pink Eye gets some food, he called over his shoulder. His hungry belly is making him grouchy. He shot a teasing look at the white cat. Pink Eye stared stiffly ahead, as though deaf. Clear Sky knew his sharp hearing hadn't missed his jibe. Affection surged beneath his pelt. Proud old flea bag. Blossom leaped onto a root beside Pink Eyes. Do you want to share the starling or the squirrel? I guess a bite of squirrel might be nice, the Tom huffed grudgingly. Hurrying, Clear Sky slipped through the bramble tunnel. Outside camp, the wind was briskier. The branches above him swished in the breeze. He opened his mouth and tasted snow. It carried the stone tang of the mountains. Nettle had been right. A heavy snowfall was on its way. He hurried between the trees. The sooner he reached the Moor Cat's hollow, the better. He followed the ridge until it dipped, and then he leaped a falling tree and climbed the slope beyond. Bare brambles snaked over the ground, and he had to watch where he put each paw. The ferns had withered long ago, and in their musty stumps, Clear Sky could smell a hint of the forest's green leaf lushness. Stiff bracken crowded the top of the slope. Clear Sky pushed through it, narrowing his eyes against the light as he cleared the edge of the forest. He broke from the trees, ducking instinctively as he hit open country. The icy wind streamed through his whiskers, and he flattened his ears. He glanced one way, then the other, tasting the air for danger. Dog scent clung to the grass, but it was stale, and he crossed the swath of withered ferns edging the woods and began to climb through the rough grass. He paused as he neared the stunted thorn tree standing alone on the barren moorside. Beneath it, a mound of soil marked the grave where they had buried One Eye, the bloodthirsty rogue. The cats from the moor, forest, and river had joined together to defeat him. Snow flecked the soil, and thrushes sang in the branches above. He was a true ray of light. Bitterness rose in Clear Sky's throat as he remembered Starflower's words at the burial. How could she have been so deluded? One Eye might have been her father, but even she must have been shocked by his cruelty. How could she have betrayed Thunder for him? Clear Sky snorted. He still couldn't believe that the treacherous she-cat had deceived his son. The wind blew harder. Heather swayed ahead of him, and he hurried for its shelter. ducking among the brown bushes until he found a rabbit trail between the stems. He followed it, relieved to be out of the wind, zigzagging this way and that as he made his way up the winding path. The heather gave way to a smooth, grassy slope. In the open once more, Clear Sky spied the dip in the hillside where the moorcat's camp lay. He quickened his pace. Snowflakes streamed around him, falling thicker now. Movement caught his eye. A small flash of fur against the grass ahead made him freeze. A small rabbit was hopping towards the heather. Clear Sky dropped into a crouch and pricked his ears. Excitement surged through him as warm rabbit scent filled his nose. His tail twitched. He waggled his hind corners, preparing to pounce. Suddenly, the rabbit stopped and looked around, ears high. Clear Sky froze. The rabbit blinked, then bolted for the heather. Now! Clear Sky surged forward. His paws rang on the frozen earth. The rabbit fled. Fear scent trailed in its wake. Clear Sky was closing in. He pushed harder against the frosty grass, fixing his gaze on the space in front of it. Then he leaped. Stretching his forepaws, he landed squarely on his prey. It struggled beneath him. He was surprised at its strength. Quickly he dug his claws in and sank his teeth into its neck. The spine snapped cleanly and the rabbit fell limp. Clear Sky's mouth watered as blood bathed his tongue. He sat up and licked his lip. Should he leave his catch and take it back to his own cats? He glanced towards the hollow. The more cats might have greater need, and it would make a generous offering to Jagged Peak and Holly in honor of their first litter. He grabbed the rabbit's scruff in his jaws and carried it up the slope. As he neared the moor cat's camp, he scanned the top of its gorse wall. Where was Tall Shadow? She was usually watching from a rock, scanning the moor with her solemn, wary gaze. He slowed as he reached the camp entrance. There was no cat guarding it. He pricked his ears. Had the weather driven them into the tunnels? We should wait for the snow to pass before we send out a hunting patrol. Clear Sky heard Thunder's mew beyond the camp wall. Pride swelled in his chest. His son had grown into a fine tom. What if it lasts for days? Greywing's mew answered Thunder. Let's worry about that when it happens. Clear Sky nosed his nose through the gap in the gorse. Greywing turned to meet him, eyes round with surprise. Clear Sky, what are you doing here? Clear Sky dropped his catch. I came to visit Jagged Peak's kits. He glanced around the camp, a purr rumbling in his throat as he spied 3 kits tumbling across the grass at the far end of the hollow. Thunder didn't follow his gaze. He was staring at the rabbit on the ground in front of Clear Sky. Did you catch that on our land? His amber eyes narrowed. Clear Sky blinked at him. Only a few moons ago, they'd begun to grow closer. Now he felt further from his son than ever before. I bought it for Jagged Peak and Holly. One of the kits squealed excitedly. I'm the fastest! Clear Sky saw a brown tomcat struggle from his littermate's grip and race towards Jagged Peak, who was watching from the long grass at the edge of the hollow. No, you're not! A tabby she-cat raced after him. The splotches on her pelt were like Holly's. White tips on her nose and her tail made her look as though she'd been dipped in snow. Wait for me! A third kit trailed behind. His thick gray pelt and lithe frame reminded Clear Sky of Jagged Peak before the accident that had crippled his hind leg. Eagle Feather! Holly stepped from the shelter of the long grass, and the brown tomcat bundled into her. She scooped him up by his scruff and dropped him onto the grass behind her. Stormpelt! Dew Nose! Back into your nests, all of you. It's too cold to be out. Jagged Peak swished his tail. I'll be warm enough so long as they keep moving. Let them play, Shattered Ice called across the clearing. It'll make them strong. The gray and white tom looked thin. Mudpaws and Lightning Tail sat a tail length away, sharing an emaciated mouse. Clear Sky could see their bones shutting from their fur. Mudpaws looked up, chewing. Check their tail tips, he advised. If they're frozen, it's time to stop. Let them have fun! Sparrowfur patted out from beneath the arching broom at the edge of the camp. The she-kit had grown, but she was skinny and her pelt dull. If there is a snowstorm on the way, it might be the last fun thing they have for days. Greywing kneaded the ground with his paws. We really should send out a hunting party now. They might get caught in the storm, Thunder argued, and Clear Sky's brought this rabbit. He nudged it with his wide paw. The kits won't go hungry. Clear Sky blinked. Are they eating prey already? They were born a new moon before last, Greywing reminded him. That long ago? Clear Sky's thoughts flitted back to the dream. We grow tired of waiting. They had promised to spread and grow like the blazing star. He caught Greywing's eye. We have to talk about what we saw. He scanned the clearing. Is Tall Shadow here? Pebbleheart's treating a scratch on her paw. Thunder nodded towards a jutting stretch of gorse in Cloudspot's den. I can get her if you like. A mew sounded behind Clear Sky. He jerked around. It was Owl Eyes. The young Tom had broadened across the shoulders. His forehead was nearly as wide as Greywing's. You've grown! Clear Sky exclaimed. So is Pebbleheart. Owl Eyes stalked away and called into the gorse. Tall Shadow, Clear Sky's here. I know. The black she-cat's familiar mew sounded from the shadows. I can smell a scent. The bush quivered as Tall Shadow slid out. Pebbleheart followed. I'll put fresh ointment on it tomorrow, he mewed. Thanks. Tall Shadow stopped beside Clear Sky. What do you want? Clear Sky hardly heard her. He was gazing across the snowy clearing. Jagged Peak nuzzled Eagle Feather near the edge. Pebbleheart followed Owl Eyes across the grass. Why isn't he paying attention? Sparrowfur called them from the broom. Shelter under here! Greywing's gaze shone proudly as he watched. She's so like her mother, he purred, and Jagged Peak is turning out to be a great father. Clear Sky glanced guiltily at Thunder. Would his son ever truly forgive him for driving him away? He looked back towards Jagged Peak, who crouched low to let Eagle Feathers scramble onto his back. Jagged Peak is a far better father than I ever was. True. He shifted his paws, feeling the cold pierce his fur, and Greywing raised another Tom's kits while I wouldn't even raise my own. He did raise 2 other Tom's kits, including yours. Well, Tall Shadow's sharp mew jerked him back to the present. Why did you come? He met her eye. I saw you in my dream last night. And we saw you. Tall Shadow tipped her head. Clear Sky leaned forward, his heart quickening. What did the spirit cats tell you? Stop thinking and to act. Tall Shadow told him that we've delayed too long. That's what they told me. Clear Sky trembled with excitement. They want us to join together. Join together? Tall Shadow stared at him, eyes wide. Are you sure you heard them right? Thunder tipped his head, curious. They told us to spread, Greywing snapped. Clear Sky's belly twisted with frustration. They've misunderstood the spirit cat's message. This guy! We'll be stronger together, especially with prey so scarce and bad weather coming. He lifted his face to the thickening snow. We're more likely to spread and grow if we join forces. Greywing narrowed his eyes. But you don't remember what I said after the last dream? But don't you remember what I said after the last dream? The blazing star has 5 petals, so I think we should split into 5 groups. We didn't agree on that, Clear Sky reminded him. That's only what you think. I think the spirit cats want us to join together. Tall Shadow's ear twitched. Lovely. It's another battle between you two, she growled. When the time comes, I won't be joining your group. I want to make my own camp in the pine forest. Clear Sky stared at her. You can't! His mind raced. What were they talking about? This was the opposite of what Fluttering Bird wanted. Tall Shadow's not the only cat who wants to move on, Greywing murmured. Clear Sky jerked around to stare at his brother. What do you mean? Greywing dropped his gaze. There's been talk in the camp ever since the last dream. Not everyone wants to live on the moor. Come to my forest, then, Clear Sky pressed. Why were they making this so complicated? It's sheltered there with more cats. We can find more prey. Thunder frowned. I don't understand. You used to try and keep us out of the forest. Clear Sky met his gaze. I used to defend my borders, he admitted. But I've changed. Now that I've spoken with Fluttering Bird, I know what... Greywing pricked his ears. You saw Fluttering Bird? His eyes lit up. How is she? She's well. Warmth flooded Clear Sky as he remembered his sister's sleek fur, better than she was in her life. What did she say? Tall Shadow asked slowly. She said we must follow our hearts, Clear Sky told her. She meant we must find our own homes, Tall Shadow concluded. No! Clear Sky flexed his claws in frustration. Why would the spirit cats ask us to split up now? We'd be making ourselves vulnerable, especially after the sickness killed off so much prey. We must join together, the way we used to be, the way we should have stayed. His pelt grew hot. Greywing and Thunder were staring at him through narrowed eyes. Didn't they trust him? Please come with me to the forest. He flicked his tail towards the other cats, half hidden by the snow, which swirled across the clearing. Every cat must come. It's sheltered there. No, Clear Sky. Thunder's growl took Clear Sky's heart. After everything that's happened, we can't go back to how it was. His amber gaze sharpened. Cats have died over the borders you created. Now you want us to pretend that they're never there? They were never there? But what about the spirit cats? Clear Sky's mew was hoarse. They're rejecting my plan. Greywing met Clear Sky's gaze. They told us to spread and grow, and that's what we'll do. You should go home. Thunder jerked his nose towards the camp entrance. No one's coming to live in the forest with you. If you want more cats to boss around, recruit some new strays. Clear Sky swallowed. What's gotten into Thunder? Did he really believe Clear Sky just wanted to boss more cats around? Did he think he'd learn nothing? Tall Shadow gazed anxiously into the wind. Flakes of snow whipped her face. Perhaps he should wait out the storm. It's almost on us. Clear Sky shook his head. He didn't want to stay. I'll go, he growled. Head down, he padded to the entrance. He had come to unite the cats. Now he felt further away from them than ever. How would he explain this to Fluttering Bird? He'd failed her. He pushed through the gorse, his paws heavy as stone. There must be some way to make the Moorcats understand. He flattened his ears as he padded out into the open grass beyond the gorse. The wind was strong, the snow thick. It buffeted his fur, so cold that it felt like claws slicing through his pelt. Hunching low, Clear Sky hurried towards the heather. I'll make them understand, Fluttering Bird. Snow battered his face. I'll make them follow their hearts, I promise. We'll be together soon. Jeez! Yeah, this is usually a really good sleeping stream. He is just a big dumb. He's like, I find that what Clear Sky does is he comes to a conclusion himself, and then he finds someone that he believes like is more wiser than him, like we have to follow this cat's orders, and then he morphs what he wants to do into what they told him to do, you know? Hold on, it's really hot. I have to take off my Snuggie. Ooh, thank you for your purchase! Hi, Max. What I miss? A chapter. But that's all. It's hard to read. When I haven't read in so long, my throat is getting sore. You're mad at yourself? Why? You lost your cat! No! Maybe he's lost with all your goats. Alright, we're continuing chapter 2. Hi, Colby! I think so. I stabbed myself on accident and missed so much. Dang, that sucks.
Did you put a band-aid on it? Too deep? Don't you have to wrap it up, though? I guess not a band-aid, but maybe, like, some other thing? A wound thing? Ay, ay, ay! Maybe you need stitches. I noticed you still didn't shout me out. Hi, Colby. Is that good enough? Didn't I say you had to come back and say the very next day for me to shout you out? No, Brandon, don't do that. I have 2 left. Maybe we lost goats because I have too many orange ones. Ah, lots of orange goats. Orange cats, orange goats. All right. Chapter 2.
Thunder watched his father disappear through the gorse. Guilt stabbed his chest. Was I too harsh? He glanced questioningly at Greywing. Should I make sure he gets back to the forest safely? Greywing didn't answer. He was gazing into the swirling snow, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. Tall Shadow leaned forward. Go, she murmured. Thunder blinked at her gratefully and headed for the gorse. Pushing out onto the moor, he narrowed his eyes against the battling snow. He strained to make out his father's pelt, and felt relieved as he spotted a dark shape moving ahead. Ducking low, he raced after it. Clear sky! The wind whipped his mew away. He pushed harder, digging his claws through the thickening layer of snow. Clear sky disappeared into a swath of heather. Thunder headed after him. Ducking along a stale rabbit trail, he caught sight of his father's tail ahead. Clear sky! Sheltered now, his call echoed along the heather tunnel. Clear sky, stop. What? He glanced back wearily. Thunder scrambled to a halt, his lungs burning from the cold. I wanted to make sure you got home safely, he puffed. Is that all? Clear sky kept walking. Thunder swallowed back guilt. I know the moor better than you, he meowed firmly. You could easily get lost in this storm. Clear sky flicked his tail. Thunder followed. I'm sorry about what I said. Clear sky didn't answer. Thunder's belly tightened. Why should I feel bad? He's the one who made the boundaries. Now he wants to abolish them. He followed Clear sky, flattening his ears. The trail opened into a small clearing between the bushes, and Clear sky halted. The wind gusted above the heather. Thunder's pelt prickled as his father turned to face him. I don't want more cats to boss around. Clear sky's blue eyes glittered with hurt. Thunder glanced at the ground. Well, there was a time when you did, he mumbled. Not anymore. Clear sky's shoulders drooped. I just want us to be together, like we used to be. Fluttering Bird wants it too. Thunder felt a surge of sympathy. Was his father still grieving for the young sister he'd lost? What if you're wrong? I'm not. Clear sky gazed at him for a moment. He nodded towards a rabbit trail opening onto the clearing, then flicked his muzzle towards another. Which one? I'm a cat person. Thunder brushed past him and ducked into the nearest tunnel. This way. He led Clear sky along the familiar track until it opened into the hillside. Snow battered his face as he emerged, and he braced himself against the wind. It was bitter enough to freeze prey. Clear sky slid out beside him and stared through narrowed eyes. Where's the forest? Thunder strained to see, but the blizzard was thicker than fog. If we follow the slope, it should lead us down to the forest edge. I'll go first. Clear sky pushed past him. I know the sense of the forest better than you. I'll know when we're close. For a cat who doesn't want to boss more cats around, you're awfully good at it. Thunder bristled, but held his tongue, and followed Clear sky, keeping so close that his father's tail tip brushed his nose. The wind roared in his ears. Cold pierced his pelt, and he fought not to shiver. Maybe we should find a tunnel and take shelter till it passes. We're nearly there, Clear sky called over his shoulder. I smell fresh earth. The forest must be close. The gray Tom quickened his pace. Thunder hurried after him, alarm prickling in his paws as his father's tail disappeared. Clear sky? They mustn't be separated, not in this weather. He blinked against the snow, relieved as he made out Clear Sky's pelt once more. An angry roar exploded ahead. Fear flashed through Thunder. What is it? Pelt bushing, he surged forward. Clear Sky? A large, dark shape lunged towards Clear Sky from the blinding whiteness. Clear Sky shrieked. Thunder raced forward, the tang of blood hitting his nose, followed by the fierce stench of badger. His heart seemed to explode in his chest. Clear Sky! He heard the thump so hard. Muscle on the frozen earth. He heard the thump of hard muscle on the frozen earth and the vicious snarl of the badger. Black fur showed through the storm. Wide hind corners bucked and trembled. The massive creature was pinning Clear Sky to the ground. Panic scorching through him, Thunder heard jaws snap. Let him go! Thunder hurled himself at the badger's flank, digging his claws in deep. The badger shook him off and snapped against Clear Sky. Claws caught Thunder's flank as he fell against Clear Sky's desperately flailing hind legs. He jumped clear, his mind spinning. The badger was huge! Thunder leaped again, claws outstretched. He landed on the badger's spine, biting hard into his pelt. He churned with his hind legs, but the badger only snarled and snapped against Clear Sky. He's killing him! Clear Thunder was blind with terror and the snow as his hind paws slid down the badger's leg. He felt his claws graze soft, wet flesh. The badger flinched and yelped. Hi, Colby! It's wounded! Hope flashed through him. He slithered to the ground and sniffed out the badger's blood. Thrusting his muzzle close to its injured back leg, he clawed at the wound. Then he clamped his jaws around it. With a roar of agonized fury, the badger reared. Run, Clear Sky! Thunder's gaze flickered towards his father, but Clear Sky was laying motionless on the ground. Thunder froze. The badger's head swung towards him. Swallowing, he backed away. He could taste the badger's blood in his mouth. He gagged. It was sour with infection. Oh! A menacing growl rumbled in the badger's throat, and it leaped. Thunder dived to one side, rolling as he landed. He looked back to make sure the badger still had its gaze fixed on him, then raced across the slope. The earth trembled as the badger pounded after him. Triumph thrilled beneath Thunder's pelt. The badger would never catch up to him, especially with an injured leg. Just have to lead it far enough away from Clear Sky. He snatched a glance over his shoulder and glimpsed the badger hulking shape following him. Bounding across the snow, he led the badger away. The wind whipped his ears as he pushed into the blizzard. Then he turned and fled uphill, leaving the badger lumbering far behind. Thank you, snow. It would cover his tracks. Paws skidding, he made a wide circle and doubled back towards Clear Sky. Please be alive. Panic seized him. Where is he?
Thanks, Max. Meow, meow, meow.
The snow that had hidden Thunder from the badger now hid his father. Opening his mouth, Thunder tasted for Clear Sky's scent. Snowflakes landed on his tongue. His nose stung with the cold. Clear Sky? His call was barely a whisper. He dared not let the badger hear. Thank you for the follow, Border Ninja! A moan sounded ahead. Clear Sky! Heart soaring, Thunder spotted a shape in the ground. You're alive! Reaching him, he dropped into a crouch. Clear Sky lay on his flank, his chest heaving. Thunder sniffed his pelt. He smelled the sour scent of the badger's blood. Did it hurt you? Clear Sky blinked and struggled to his paws. Thunder smelled a fresh wound. The snow was red beneath him. Where did it bite you? Fear sparked through Thunder as he saw the fur at Clear Sky's neck clumped with blood. It's not deep, Clear Sky croaked. The badger's bite carries infection, Thunder warned him. Let me get you back to the hollow. Closer to the forest. Clear Sky stumbled as he spoke. His flank hit Thunder's. Thunder dug his claws into the ground, supporting his father's weight. Pebbleheart can treat your wound. He knows which herbs will stop it from turning sour. He felt Clear Sky heave a shaky breath. Let's get out of here before the badger comes back. I don't know why you want to stay on the moor when it's riddled with badgers, Clear Sky grumbled as Thunder steered him up the slope towards the heather. There's a set in the forest too, Thunder pointed out. Far enough from the camp not to have them lumbering around attacking cats. Thunder was relieved to hear Clear Sky arguing. That meant his wound couldn't be too bad, though his father's paw steps were halting. He nudged Clear Sky on, anxious the badger might have picked up their trail. Snowflakes caught in his throat as he struggled to support his father. They stumbled uphill, the wind pushing them sideways. Thunder was breathless by the time they reached the heather. Puffing, he guided his father into a rabbit run among the bushes. As the branches enclosed them, he relaxed. The badger couldn't follow them through here. They reached the far side of the heather and emerged onto open grass. The snow had eased. Thunder could see the gorse wall of the camp and pushed his shoulder harder against Clear Sky's. We're nearly there. It's my neck that's injured, not my mind, Clear Sky grunted. Or your tongue, Thunder growled back. Thunder? Cloudspot's mew sounded from the camp entrance. Are you okay? The long-furred black Tom hurried across the grass towards him. His white ear tips and paws were invisible against the snowy moor. I smell blood. Clear Sky was attacked by a badger, Thunder explained. Cloudspots had been tending to injured cats since Thunder could remember, and he'd passed on his skills to Pebbleheart. Cloudspots fell in beside Clear Sky, pushing against his other shoulder. It's just a scratch, Clear Sky insisted. Even a scratch can turn nasty, especially from a badger, Cloudspots fretted. But I have a great store of herbs. He lifted his chin up and called to camp. Pebbleheart! The young Tom appeared at the camp entrance, his tabby pelt standing out against the snow-blasted gorse. Cloudspots? There was worry in his mew. Go and start chewing a paw loose of marigold and oak leaf. Thunder stiffened at the worry in Cloudspot's voice. He'll be okay, won't he? He glanced at Clear Sky. Of course he'll be okay. Of course I'll be okay. Clear Sky straightened sharply, pushing the moorcats away, and marched on into the hollow. Thunder hurried after him into the snow-covered camp. Tall Shadow darted from the long grass, shaking flakes from her spine. I said go after him. Her ear twitched angrily. I didn't say bring him back. We ran into a badger, Thunder explained quickly. Clear Sky was hurt. Badly? Tall Shadow glanced over her shoulder. Greywing was crossing the clearing towards her, his paws kicking through the snow. Is he okay? Cloudspots was already guiding Clear Sky into his den. He'll be fine. Greywing met Thunder's gaze. Should you have brought him back? He asked anxiously. He's already ruffled enough fur here for one day. He was attacked by a badger. Thunder turned his tail on Greywing and followed Clear Sky into Cloudspot's den. Cloudspots was easing Clear Sky onto his side. Lie still so Pebbleheart can reach your wound, Clear Sky huffed. What a lot of fuss over a scratch. Thunder wrinkled his nose as he patted across the sandy floor of the den. The tang of herbs filled the air. He noticed 2 nests at the back of the den, woven from heather branches and lined with moss. How can Pebbleheart and Cloudspot sleep in here with this smell? Squinting through the half-light, he could make out wads of leaves stuffed between the gorse stems. Is that your herb store? He asked Cloudspots. He was surprised that Tom had collected so many. Have you never been in his den? I guess maybe that's a good thing. Bye, Max! And hi, Red! My model is... Dang. My model keeps freezing. You guys are supposed to tell me, goofballs. Hold on, we'll restart my iPad then. Mwah! Thank you for the keys. Sorry, I'm frozen for a second while I restart my iPad. You ever have so much lemonade it makes your tummy hurt? That's me right now. Or maybe it's the combination of spicy instant noodles and lemonade. They don't sound like they'd go well together, do they? So much of anything makes you hurt. You're right. Moderation is the key to true happiness, after all.
We back? It's loading so slow. Oh, we're loading. We're loading in. Biscuits and gravy. Are you saying biscuits and gravy is the only thing that won't hurt your tummy? I feel like gravy would totally hurt your tummy. Alright, let's keep going. Oh, the key to happiness. What kind of biscuits? Like scone type biscuits or like cracker biscuits? All right, let's find where I left off. It should last us through Leaf Bear. Cloudspot's gaze was fixed on Clear Sky's neck as Pebbleheart carefully washed the blood-stained fur clean. Is it deep? He asked the young Tom. No. Pebbleheart looked up. A bit jagged, but that should help it close up easily. He twisted and grabbed a mouthful of dark sludge from beside him and began to work it in Clear Sky's wound with steady laps of his tongue. Clear Sky flinched. Are you sure that'll help? He rasped. Cloudspots ran his tail along Clear Sky's flank. The sting shows that the herbs are working. Thunder sat back on his haunches, wondering how any cat had the patience to learn the name and use of every herb. How long will it take to heal? He asked. A few days. Pebbleheart stepped back. Clear Sky struggled to his paws. He twisted his head gently, as though feeling for pain. Thank you. He nodded to Pebbleheart. That feels better already. I'd shoot some dock into the poultice, Pebbleheart told him. It'll soothe the wound. When you get back to the forest, put some dock leaves in your nest when you sleep. It'll ease the pain. Biscuit and gravy? Oh, that is a southern U.S. thing, a Texas thing. Biscuits and gravy. Clear Sky blinked gratefully at the young cat, then turned to Thunder. See how well we managed when we worked together? What do you mean? You just got wounded, sir! Thunder felt his heart grow heavy. Clear Sky was still trying to persuade him that the cat should join up. He stared blankly at his father, searching for words. Clear Sky spoke again before he could answer. You saved me from that badger, and Pebbleheart had made sure my wound would heal. Imagine if we all lived in the forest. His eyes grew brighter with each word. We'd grow strong and spread, just like the spirit cat said. I don't think that's what they meant, Cloudspots mewed gently. Clear Sky turned on him. How do you know? You weren't there. Thunder flattened his ears as he heard his father's temper flare. Perhaps Clear Sky hasn't changed that much after all. Leave Cloudspots alone, he murmured. He just helped you. Clear Sky's angry gaze flashed towards Thunder. Why won't any of you understand? Fluttering Bird wants us to be together. Thunder felt suddenly wary. Fighting with badgers was bad enough. He didn't want to fight with Clear Sky, too. He got to his paws. Can Clear Sky take some fresh herbs home with him? Pebbleheart answered him. I'll wrap the leftover poultice in a leaf for him. Thanks. Thunder headed out of the den. I'm gonna go check on the kits. He wanted to make sure their nest was clear of snow. Outside, a few flakes swirled around him as he crossed the clearing. Jagged Peak was dragging a large piece of heather towards the far end. Are the kits okay? Thunder called. Jagged Peak dropped the branch and looked at Thunder. We're moving them to a more sheltered spot. Thunder caught up with him as he dragged the branch beneath the trailing broom. Under here? Inside, a wide circle of clear earth sat sheltered by the dropping stems. Even stripped of their leaves, they made a fine windbreaker, and the snow hadn't made it through. Holly was near the back of the den, weaving heather branches together with her teeth. Eagle Feather, Dew Nose, and Stormpelt were darting around her, pouncing on one another, tails flicking with excitement. Jagged Peak dropped the fresh branch beside his mate. Shattered Ice and Lightning Tail have gone out to collect more now that the snow's eased, he told her. We'll need moss to line it, Holly told him. Eagle Feather scrambled onto her back as she crouched to spear another twig into the half-built nest. I want a badger ride, he squeaked.
Holly huffed with annoyance and shrugged him off. Not now. I only have 2 pairs of paws. Thunder padded forward. I'll play with the kits, he offered. Holly glanced at him, relief glowing in her eyes. Thank you, Thunder. I'll play with them too, Jagged Peak added quickly. Thunder dipped his head. We can both play. Eagle Feather jumped onto his father's back. Dew Nose raced for Thunder and clawed her way onto his shoulders. He winced at her tiny, thorn-sharp claws. What about you, Stormpelt? The gray kit was hanging back.
I want to help Holly.
Holly's ear twitched. Go and play, dear.
I promise I won't get in your way.
Stormpelt gazed at her solemnly.
I can push in the sticky outfit.
He reached up to the half-woven nest and tucked a heather spring in with a nimble paw. Holly purred. Okay, then.
Hurry up, Thunder.
Dew Nose curled her claws into Thunder's pelt. Careful, Thunder gasped. I'm not prey. Dew Nose purred as he pushed his way through the bushes. Hang on, he warned as the trailing branches swept over them. Dew Nose's paw tightened around his shoulders, and he purred, grateful that she was keeping her claws sheathed. The sticky outfit is so cute. Outside, the clouds were thinning. The snow had stopped, but the clearing was thickly coated. He waded through it, thumping his paws heavily against the earth like a lumbering badger, and trying not to think about the real badger he'd fought earlier. Dew Nose squeaked with delight and hung on harder. Jagged Peak caught up to him. Did I see Clear Sky coming back into camp with you?
Clear Sky?
Eagle Feather meowed on Jagged Peak's shoulders.
Where?
He's in Cloudspot's den, Thunder explained. We ran into a badger. He got a little scratch. He didn't want to frighten the kits. A badger? Jagged Peak looked alarmed. Close to camp?
Hi, Pancakes!
Same warrior cats as the game?
What game?
Which game? I don't think there's a warrior cat game. But there is a warrior cat gen thing. Oh, yes, the clan gen. It is the clan gen game.
Yeah.
This is what that game is based off of.
The Warrior Cat books. Nostalgia!
A badger? Jagged Peak looked alarmed. Close to camp? Thunder shook his head. Near the forest border. It was injured. I doubt it'll hang around long on the moor, especially with this weather.
It's okay.
Jagged Peak was frowning. If it was close to the forest birder, why did you bring him back here? He was injured, Thunder began. Jagged Peak didn't let him finish. He's caused enough worry and gossip in the camp already. We don't need him stirring up more trouble. He stopped and shook Eagle Feather from his shoulders. The tiny kit plumped onto the snow with a squeak.
That wasn't long enough.
Jagged Peak nodded towards the boulder on the other end of camp. Go and see if you can find some moss around the bottom of Tall Shadow's rock.
But it's covered in snow,
Eagle Feather objected. Then you'll have to dig for it, Jagged Peak told him firmly. Dew Nose slithered down Thunder's flank and landed beside her brother.
Come on, Eagle Feather. Holly will be really pleased if we bring her moss.
She bounded over the snow, sinking deeper with each jump. Eagle Feather plunged after her.
Wait for me!
They looked like frogs bobbing through the snow. Thunder purred and glanced at Jagged Peak, but the gray tabby Tom wasn't watching his kits. He was staring at Cloudspot's den beyond the rock, his eyes dark with worry. Was he hurt badly? Jagged Peak asked. Just a scratch, he told him. Was someone other than Cloudspots and Pebbleheart worried about Clear Sky after all? Pebbleheart's just making sure it won't turn sour, so he'll be able to go straight home. Thunder stared at Jagged Peak. Don't you care that he was hurt? Jagged Peak dragged his gaze from the den. It makes a change, I suppose, he snorted. Usually causes wounds. Thunder flinched but didn't argue. Clear Sky had killed Rainswept Flower and banished Jagged Peak from the forest. He understood why the Tom was bitter. But Jagged Peak's words worried him. He glanced around the camp. Tall Shadow was on a rock, gazing across the moor while the kits burrowed eagerly below. Mudpaws was emerging from the long grass at the edge, shaking snow from his ears. Dapplepelt sat a few tail lengths away.
Ooh, congrats! You filled up your card, Porty.
I lost my spot again. Dapplepelt sat a few tail lengths away, her ears twitching, while Mouseier stood beside her, staring into the sky. You said Clear Sky had caused gossip? Thunder asked. You know Tall Shadow's been thinking about making a new home in the pines, Jagged Peak grunted, and this weather has started everyone wondering whether living in such an exposed place is a good idea. Mudpaws and Mouseier said they were never this cold when they were strays. They could shelter in the woods or be by the river when the cold water came. What the heck? I just suddenly stopped being able to read. Dapplepelt patted closer. We weren't even this exposed in the mountains, she called. We had the cave to protect us. But there's better hunting here, Thunder reminded her. There was, she agreed, before the sickness killed half of it. Thunder's pelt prickled uneasily. Do you want to move to the forest and become part of Clear Sky's group? He could hardly believe it. They'd fought a battle to protect their lives on the moor. Of course not, Dapplepelt snorted. But the moor is not the only place to live. Thunder nodded slowly. River Ripple had his island, and Clear Sky's forest was not the only shelter nearby. The floor of the pine forest must be so sheltered by the thick canopy of needles that it never felt snow. Mudpaws joined them. I thought the spirit cats wanted us to move on. Spirit cats, Mouseier puffed. You don't believe that, do you? Dead cats talking to the living? Dapplepelt blinked at the old Tom slowly. Thunder, Tall Shadow, and Greywing all saw them. Nothing but dreams. Mouseier tipped his head to one side. They'd probably shared a rotten mouse before they went into their nests. Thunder met his gaze with annoyance. So you want to stay on the moor? I didn't say that, Mouseier snapped back. I just don't intend to move because some imaginary cat told me to. Jagged Peak swished his tail. We have to settle this before everyone starts arguing. Thunder blinked as Jagged Peak marched back towards Tall Shadow's rock and leaped up beside her. Tall Shadow reared in surprise. Jagged Peak? We need to settle where we are going to live before every cat starts fighting about it. The Tom's mew rang across the clearing. Holly's head poked out from beneath the broom. Cloudspot's den shivered as Clear Sky pushed his way out. Greywing crossed the clearing, his eyes round. Jagged Peak, what are you doing? Thunder hurried towards the rock. Clear Sky's eyes were bright with hope as he stared up at Jagged Peak. Did Clear Sky think that his younger brother was about to agree with his plan to join together? Alarm twisted Thunder's belly. Let's discuss this later, he called to Jagged Peak. Did he have to make such a fuss while Clear Sky was still here? No one was going to join Clear Sky's group. Surely they could settle this without embarrassing the misguided Tom. Dapplepelt stopped beside Thunder. Let him speak, she murmured softly. We've already put off this decision too long. Mudpaws and Mouseier halted below the rock while Holly hurried towards them. Stormpelt bounded after his mother. She called to Eaglefeather and Dewnows, "Come here, little ones." The kids were covered in snow from digging around the rock. A wad of moss dangled from Dewnows' jaws. It trembled and she hurried towards her mother. Aww. Holly swept her close with a paw and tucked her against her warm belly. She scooped up Eaglefeather too. Stormpelt burrowed in beside them.
We found moss for the nest,
Eaglefeather mewed excitedly. Hush. Holly leaned down and licked the snow from his nose. Paw steps sounded outside the camp. A moment later, Lightning Tail and Shattered Ice pushed through the gorse tunnel. Shattered Ice blinked. What's going on? Lightning Tail was holding a bunch of heather between his jaws. He dropped it and slid between Dapplepelt and Mudpaws. Is this a meeting? Jagged Peak gazed down at him. We need to decide where we're going to live. At last! Tall Shadow pummeled the rock beside her excitedly. Holly curled her tail. And I just finished building a new nest. I don't want to move to the pine forest, Shattered Ice called. It's as damp as a marsh in there. I don't want to stay here, Mudpaws mewed. We'll freeze to death by New Leaf. Mousy ear growled in agreement. I'm tired of hunting in rabbit tunnels. I want to live near fresh water, Dapplepelt called. The water here tastes like peat. Thunder stared in disbelief at the cats he'd shared a camp with for so long. Had they always been this dissatisfied? Sadness jabbed his chest. He'd grown up in the hollow. It was home. How could they abandon it? He stepped forward. We can't leave the moor. We'll starve if we stay, Mousy returned. Clear Sky lifted his tail. Let's do as the spirit cats ask. Let's be like the blazing star and gather like petals around the heart of a flower. His eyes shone. Come live in the forest with me. Jagged Peak glared at him. Do you think we're harebrained? I'm not living anywhere near you, Shattered Ice growled, and I'm not living under trees. I need to see the sky above my head. The trees will shelter us, Tall Shadow argued. Thunder's thoughts spun. How can we leave when we can't decide where to go? Jagged Peak padded to the front. To the rock. That is not written correctly. Padded to the front of the rock and looked around at the gathered cats. Let's decide the same way we decided last time. Thunder frowned. Last time? Jagged Peak gaze reached Greywing and halted. Remember? Greywing nodded solemnly. Let's cast stones. Oh, stones.
Hi, Kami! Kami!
Sorry, I stretched. At the same time.
I think I was like posing in a weird space with my hand. What are you gaming, Cammy? Kami? Kami-sama? Kami-sama? Chapter 3?
Where the heck is my chat gone?
Chapter 3.
I suddenly have this massive craving for red licorice. Like the rope stuff? Twizzlers! Oh man, I really want a Twizzlers. I crave plastic. Like that plastic taste that they have. Maybe I'll go for a walk later and pick some up.
Chapter 3.
Thunder frowned as Jagged Peak and Tall Shadow jumped down from the rock. Cast stones? What was Greywing talking about? How? He murmured to himself. A warm muzzle nudged his flank, and he turned to see Dapplepelt looking at him, her eyes sparkling. We've done it before, when Clear Sky broke away from the group to set up his own camp in the forest. And before that, when we wanted to leave the mountains. Greywing began to dig through the snow at the bottom of the rock. As he unearthed pebbles from the soil below, he kicked them out behind him. Jagged Peak scooped them into a pile while Tall Shadow hurried to the edge of the clearing and began to scrape a wide hole in the snow. Pebbleheart and Cloudspot slid from beneath their jutting gorse, where they treated Clear Sky. The scent of herbs swirled around them, and Thunder noticed that Pebbleheart's paws were stained green. Sparrowfur and Owleyes nosed their way from the snowy grass at the edge of the clearing and padded towards the others. Owleyes was yawning, and Sparrowfur blinked sleep from her eyes. We're casting stones, Dapplepelt called to them excitedly. Casting stones? Owleyes sat down beside the tortoiseshell. On what? We're deciding where each cat will live, she told him. Sparrowfur's eyes widened. Why now? Dapplepelt glanced sharply at Clear Sky. Thunder shifted his paws uneasily. The cats clearly knew that his father's interference had pushed them to make this decision. We shared a dream of the spirit cats last night, he explained to Sparrowfur. They want us to spread and grow like the blazing star. Sparrowfur rolled her eyes. We've known that for ages. Last night they told us to hurry up. Sparrowfur tipped her head, curious. Why? We don't know. Thunder remembered the urgent tone in Storm's mew. Why were the spirit cats rushing them? Did they know something they weren't sharing? Thunder! Tall Shadow's call shook him from his thoughts. Help me clear this patch. He bounded over to her and began to widen the circle she'd made by scraping away snow until soil showed beneath. He was still not exactly sure what she was doing. When the patch was 3 tail lengths wide, Tall Shadow traced a loop in the clear earth with a deft flick of her paw, then another and another until there were 3 circles marked on the ground. She lifted her muzzle. Each cat must take a stone from the pile Greywing and Jagged Peak have made and place it in the circle that marks the place they wish to live. Shattered Ice padded forward. Which circle is which? Lightning Tail padded past them, carrying one of the heather branches he'd brought back to camp in his jaws. He dropped it and tugged off a brown sprig from the tip and placed it in one of the circles. Then he put 2 more in the next so that the circles were clearly marked. Tall Shadow nodded curtly. Thank you, Lightning Tail. She addressed the cats once more. The circle with no heather is Clear Sky's camp. The circle with 1 spring is the pine forest. 2 springs means the moor. Dapplepelt swished her tail. What about the river? Lightning Tail blinked at her. That's River Ripple's territory. Greywing turned from the rock, his paws filthy from digging. River Ripple must be included in our plans. The Spirit Cats chose to share with him as well as us. Okay. Tall Shadow drew a 4th circle in the earth. Lightning Tail dropped 3 sprigs of the heather into it. Thunder tipped his head to one side. What about the 5th petal? If River Ripple was right, the Spirit Cats wanted them to separate into 5 groups. Greywing nosed past Jagged Peak and stopped at the edge of the patch of earth. Where's Windrunner's group? True. Oh, there's Windrunner's group. When the sickness had reached the camp and killed one of her kids, Windrunner and Gorsefur had taken their kits, Mothflight and Dustmuzzle. Oh my god, Mothflight! That's the book that Ven wants me to read later! Mothflight and Dustmuzzle, away from the hollow to make their own camp on the moor. There, Slate, a friendly rogue she-cat, had joined them, the one Greywing wants to smooch up. Tall Shadow glanced around at her campmates. Should I trace a circle for Windrunner's group? Of course, Shattered Ice meowed. She's one of the 5 petals. No, Greywing shook his head. She left for a reason, he reminded them. She won't want any of us joining her. Pebbleheart glanced towards the camp entrance. Perhaps someone should get her. She should be part of this. One day she will be, Greywing told them gently. But for now, she thinks she is doing the right thing for her kits by keeping to herself. You should respect that. Tall Shadow nodded. Greywind is right. Windrunner was always independent. She'll make her own decisions in her own time. She leaned closer to the patch of soil. 4 circles will have to be enough. Mudpaws dipped his head. Mousiears nodded gravely. Cloudspot sat down and wrapped his tail over his paws. Sparrowfur wove excitedly between Pebbleheart and Owl Eyes. Can we choose wherever we want? She asked. Of course, Greywing answered. Turtletail told me we must each follow our hearts. Thunder felt his tail tremble. Storm had told him that too. But where does my heart lie? He glanced across the clearing, aching suddenly with sorrow as he remembered playing kit games with Lightning Tail and Acornfur while Hawkswoop watched fondly from her nest in the long grass. Could he really leave here? Clear Sky pushed past Jagged Peak. Our hearts belong together! His eyes glittered wildly. Thunder felt a tug of pity for his father. Clear Sky was pleading for the cats to join him. I've never seen him so desperate. Shattered Ice snorted. Do you expect us to believe you? He glanced at Clear Sky. Your heart has only ever led you towards your power. You just want to be the only leader. Thunder flinched as he saw his father shrink away. Despair clouded Clear Sky's gaze. Do what you want, he muttered. He slunk to the rock and crouched beside it. Jagged Peak nudged the pile of pebbles with a paw. Let's start. Tall Shadow ducked and grabbed the first stone between her jaws. She dropped it in the circle with the heather spring, the pine forest. Thunder wasn't surprised. He knew that was where her heart longed to be. Jagged Peak dropped the second stone beside it. Thunder stared at him. You too? Jagged Beak didn't answer him. She was gazing at Holly, a question in his eyes. She padded forward. Eagle Feather, Stormpelt, and Dunose watched as she took a stone and placed it beside Jagged Peak's. She lifted her head and blinked slowly at her mate. The pines will protect our kits from the weather. Jagged Peak purred and wove around her. Eagle Feather scrambled towards them, kicking up snow.
I like the moor.
Holly bent and licked his ears as he reached her. You'll like the pine forest too, she promised. There'll be good hunting and lots of places to play hide and seek. Clear Sky grunted beside the rock and tucked his paws tighter beneath him. Thunder tried not to notice his father's disapproval. He glanced at...
Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm still not here. You can just see me talking. Okay, bye again. I was ordering food with my roommate. It's the little my Frosty Tools does like a little summary. You're bilingual? What's your other language? Hamimaru is an absolute delight. This bilingual VTuber is not only an ascended koi god, but also a variety VA streamer who's ready to take you on an unforgettable journey. With their tomboy charm and wandering hero spirit, they're here to make memories with you. Don't miss out the fun. Come swim up the stream with Kamimaru. That's so cute. Alright. Let's continue. Where were we? Okay, they've started. Jagged Peak and Holly are moving to the pine forest with all the kittens. Your language? No way! You know sign language, Spanish, French, Italian, and working on Japanese, Mandarin, and Korean? Oh my god. That's so cool. Wait, so you're fluent in sign language, Spanish, French, and Italian? I'll be embarrassed to share my French with you then. Japanese, Mandarin, and Korean. I really, really want to learn Korean. Korean is one of my... Korean and sign language are one of my... If I could wish to know 3 languages, those would be part of my 3 languages. I don't know what my 3rd language would be. Probably French, but like actually good at French. Or I guess Japanese. I'd want Japanese too. So you're not bilingual, you're like lingual. Many-lingual, octolingual. Fluent in science, Spanish, Italian, conversational, and French. Dang. That's so impressive. Wait. If you do the 3D model thing that we were talking about earlier, you could do sign language with it. And that would be really cool. I guess you would need like a very... Like, you would need one of those gloves that can completely track all of your finger movement. Or like a camera that really follows all your hands. But that would be cool. Yeah! I think people would just like that a lot. Inclusivity. Alright, let's keep going. Oh, I see. Thunder tried not to notice his father's disapproval. He glanced at the other cats. Who would choose next? His paws felt rooted to the earth. Should he follow Jagged Peak and Tall Shadow? Staying with the cats he knew might be the wisest path. He watched he watched Greywing take a stone and place it beside Holly's. Scalpel, no. You too? Thunder shivered at the thought of the dark pines. He could never live in shadow. With the sharp scent of pine sap tainting every piece of prey, he watched, his heart growing heavier as Pebbleheart, Mudpaws, and Mouseier dropped their stones beside Greywing. Was every cat going to the pine forest? He felt Dapplepelt brush past as she patted to get a stone and watched, holding his breath, as she dropped it in the river circle. Clear Sky leaped to his paws. You're a cat, not a fish! Dapplepelt blinked at him calmly. We are choosing where we want, she meowed firmly. I'm glad Dapplepelt's finally going to the river. She was the one that was trying to catch fish on the way there, right? During the first book. And Quickwater was like, no, I don't like water. And Dapplepelt was like, yay, fish! Clear Sky frowned and sat down. Thunder ignored his father's outburst. Choosing where to live felt hard enough already. His paws prickled as he stared at Dapplepelt's stone. He should have felt relieved. He wasn't the only cat who didn't want to spend his life wading through pine needles, but watching his group split sent unease rippling beneath his pelt. Shattered Ice followed Dapplepelt. Shattered Ice followed Dapplepelt, interesting, choosing the river. Then Lightning Tail took his turn.
Thunder watched, his chest tightening. He shared a nest with Lightning Tail as a kid. The young Tom and his sister, Acorn Fur, were like litter mates to him. Grasping a stone between his jaws, Lightning Tail padded towards the open patch of soil. He glanced at Thunder. Was that a question in his friend's gaze? Thunder looked away. I can't help you decide. You must follow your own heart. Lightning Tail dropped his stone into Clear Sky's circle. Ah! Clear Sky's ears pricked with interest. No! Both his siblings now! Of course Lightning Tail chose the forest. Thunder was surprised he hadn't guessed. Acorn Fur had already moved there, and with Hawkswoop and Jackdaw's Cry dead, he had no other kin. He has you! He has you, Thunder! Next, Sparrow Fur padded to the pile of stones and took one. Keeping her gaze low, she dropped it in Clear Sky's circle. We all been know that. Thunder saw Greywing straighten. I was surprised that Sparrow Fur was even back in the hollow. I thought that as soon as One Eye was gone, that she would go with them. But no. Sparrow Fur, are you sure? The Grey Tom stared at her. She met his gaze and nodded. I like it there. Greywing didn't speak. I like the trees, Sparrow Fur insisted, and I've always wanted to taste squirrel and... Her mew trailed away. There was no mistaking the fierce grief burning in Greywing's eyes. You must follow your heart. He dropped his gaze. Owleye scampered past his sister and grabbed a stone between his teeth. He tossed it into the circle beside Sparrow Fur's and glanced at Pebbleheart. They were leaving their littermate. Is that okay? Oh! Oh! Owl Eyes is also going to the forest. It's fine, Pebbleheart purred. A thunderpath may separate us, but we'll always be littermates. As Pebbleheart stepped forward to nuzzle his brother's cheek, Cloudspots cast his tone into clear... Cloudspots? Oh my god! Well, now that Moore doesn't have any healing cat. Cloudspots cast his stone into Clear Sky's circle. Pebbleheart jerked around and stared at the long-furred Tom. His eyes glittered with alarm. What will I do without you to guide me? How will I know which herbs to use? You know them, Cloudspots meowed simply. I have nothing left to teach you. And it's better that we spread our healing skills between two groups. The Pine Forest cats will have you to treat their wounds. Clear Sky will have me. He glanced over his shoulder at Clear Sky. He certainly needs someone to take care of his cats. Clear Sky didn't seem to hear. He was staring at the 4 pebbles in his circle. Thunder curled his claws into the ground nervously. While he'd been turning the question over and over in his mind, every cat had made their decision except him. Wait. Is that everyone in the group? Is no one staying in the moor? Well, Clear Sky prompted, where will you choose, Thunder? Thunder glanced around at the cats he'd grown up among. Should he follow Greywing and Tall Shadow to the pine forest? Or Dapplepelt and Chatterdice to the river? No. He knew what he had to do. He'd seen Clear Sky almost die earlier. Worse than he'd seen Clear Sky look uncertain. Oh, worse than that, he'd seen Clear Sky look uncertain. He'd watched his father plead. Deep in his belly, Thunder sensed a weakness in him that he'd never seen before. He needs me. Reluctantly, he padded to the stones, picked one up from the remains of the pile. He dropped it into Clear Sky's circle! Well, I guess we did know that because he's Thunder, and it has to turn into ThunderClan eventually. Thank you, Thunder. His father's mew seemed to crack. Thunder closed his eyes. I've made the right decision. Clear Sky was not the ruthless leader he'd once been. If his group was to spread and grow like the blazing star, Clear Sky would need help leading it. Thunder shook out his pelt, feeling relief wash through him like a fresh breeze. The decision had been made. And yet his heart pricked at the thought of the group splitting apart. Was this really the right thing to do? He imagined the hollow empty through the long leaf bare, snow filling the deserted nests. The clearing growing wild, with no paw steps to trample them down. Dang.
So wait, if they're leaving the moor, okay, it makes sense. Like before, I was like, okay, well, if they're saying there's 5 places, and they count Windrunner's place as another place, they need to, one of the clans have to die eventually. But this way, they all split up into different groups and they left the moor, so they already lost that moor. But earlier, they were talking about how there has to be 5. But now there's back to 4 because nobody's in the moor anymore. Weird. Mousieer wove around Tall Shadow. I bet the pine forest has more prey than the moor. Mudpaws lifted a black forepaw and began to wash it. Can't wait to be out of this wind, he mewed between licks. Do you think River Ripple will teach us how to fish? Dappled eyes were shining as she padded back and forth restlessly in front of shattered ice. She's so excited! I'm so happy Dapplefelt got to go to River Ripple's camp. When will I see River Ripple's POV? Let me in. Sparrowfur shuddered. You want to get your paws wet? She stared at the she-cat in disbelief. I want to learn how to swim, Dapplepelt told her. Can't be harder than tunneling, Shattered Eyes added. Lightning Tail snorted. I always suspected you were mouse-brained, he purred teasingly. The cats seemed happy, but Thunder hardly heard them. Irritation prickled beneath his pelt as he watched Jagged Peak press close to Holly, the kits winding around their paws. Did he have to look so pleased with himself? Thunder stalked towards him. Are you happy now that you've split apart the group? Jagged Peak met his gaze, unflinching. It's what the Spirit Cats wanted, and you know it. Thunder blinked, surprised by Jagged Peak's boldness. Things change, Thunder. Jagged Peak glanced back at his crippled hind leg. Some of us are used to adapting. Perhaps you should get used to it, too. Dang, Jagged Peak grew up! He turned sharply, swishing his tail against Thunder's muzzle, and nosed Eagle Feather up to his shoulders. Do you want a badger ride to our new home? Thunder stared. Jagged Peak had changed. He'd become so certain of himself. Should I begrudge him that? It's because he got a mate that cheers him on, supports his growth. A pelt brushed his flank as Clear Sky stopped beside him. 5 cats will have to be enough. His gaze was fixed on the departing cats. For now. Thunder felt suddenly cold. There was icy determination in his father's mew. Perhaps Clear Sky hadn't grown weak after all. Had his anxious, pleading eyes just been a trick? Do you still want them all? Not me. Clear Sky's blue gaze was calm. Fluttering bird. Thunder shifted away. Perhaps it was the best that the group was spread itself across the moor, river, and forest. No leader should command every cat. That was too much power to hold. Clear Sky lifted his tail. You'd better get ready to leave. Sparrowfur and Owl Eyes were already pacing near the entrance. Beside them, Lightning Tail gazed wistfully across the hollow. Wait, Lightning Tail and Thunder are still together after all! Yippee! Greywing sat alone. The Tom's golden eyes were dark with grief. Hey, you still have Pebbleheart, though. Oh, I guess he is losing his first son. Thunder felt his throat tighten. I have to say goodbye to Greywing, he told Clear Sky. He crossed the grass and stopped in front of his old friend. I'll watch over them, he promised, tipping his head towards Sparrowfur and Owl Eyes. It's like losing Turtletail all over again. Greywing's mew was thick. I'm not ready to leave Tall Shadow, and Pebbleheart needs me. But how can I be separated from those kits? Thunder hated how hard this seemed for Greywing. They're not kits anymore, he said softly. But he knew that although Owl Eyes, Sparrowfur, and Pebbleheart were nearly grown, Greywing will always love them as a father. Anyway, you'll know where they are, Thunder soothed. You'll get to see them whenever you want. It won't be the same. Thunder's heart twisted in his chest. No, it'll never be the same again. Around him, cats padded restlessly, their ears pricked and tails twitching with excitement at establishing their new homes. I just hope we're doing the right thing. Chapter 4. What's my thing that tells me how long I've been streaming for? Oh! There for?
As Thunder padded away, Greywing became slowly aware of the cold. The numbness that had gripped him since Sparrowfur had dropped her stone in Clear Sky's circle eased. And he shivered, lifting his gaze to the two young cats at the gorse entrance to the camp. Owl Eyes leaped up to catch a stray snowflake. His eyes shone with excitement. Greywing swallowed back his grief. Soft fur brushed his flank. He turned his head. Pebbleheart was gazing at him with round, amber eyes. I've said goodbye to them. It's your turn now. Greywing's paws felt like stone. How could he say goodbye? He'd never imagined they'd be separated like this. He glanced at the snow clouds glowing above camp. Was Turtletail watching? Had she known this would happen when she urged them to spread, then grow like the blazing star? Anger surged in his chest. They're all I have left of her, he breathed. You still have me. Pebbleheart nudged him forward. They won't leave until you say goodbye. Did I make the right choice? Greywing wondered if he should be traveling to the forest. But how could he call the forest home? The hollow felt like home. It was where he had made his nest with Turtletail. It felt strange to be leaving it behind. But that was exactly what he had chosen. No cat had voted to stay in the hollow. It'll be empty now. The thought was like a cruel claw of regret in his belly for...
What would happen if one cat really wanted to stay in the hollow? But everyone else had picked somewhere else, so they were just like, well, I can't stay here alone. That'd be so sad.
He knew he needed to stay close to Pebbleheart. From the start, the young Tom had been special. He was a gifted healer and had dreams that were often uncannily true. A deep sense of duty pulled Greywing towards him. He couldn't ignore the feeling that the destiny of the cats was bound up with Pebbleheart's fate. I must protect him. Greywing tried to take a deep breath to steady himself, but his chest was tight. Since he'd breathed the smoke from the forest fire, he often struggled for air. Now the chill of Leaf Bear and the strain of leaving the hollow seemed to crush his chest like a stone. He closed his eyes for a moment, pulling in a shallow breath, then headed across the camp. You look excited, he meowed as he neared Sparrowfur and Owl Eyes. Too late, he realized. He made it sound like an accusation. I mean, you look happy. You must have made the right choice. Sparrowfur met his gaze anxiously. We didn't mean to hurt you. I'm not hurt, Greywing lied. Owl Eyes blinked at him. You're wheezing. It's just the cold. Greywing lifted his chin. He looked from Sparrowfur to Owl Eyes, suddenly surprised by how grown up they looked. Their soft kitten fluff was gone. Their pelts were sleek. Delicate muscles showed beneath. Sparrowfur had the same pretty markings as her mother's tortoiseshell pelt, and Owl Eyes had his mother's lean, lithe shape. Will you remember Turtletail, even in your new home? Of course we will, Sparrowfur's mew was sharp. We'll never forget her. Owl Eye's tail trembled. I can still remember her scent. Will you remember it even in the musty dampness of the forest? Greywing swallowed back a sigh. Your mother was a brave cat, he meowed, and kinder than any cat I've ever known. She'd be proud to see you face your future with such courage. Owl Eyes tipped his head. Will you be proud of us too? Greywing leaned forward and touched his muzzle to Owl Eyes' head. I will always be proud of you. He licked Sparrowfur's ear. If you ever need me, come find me. He turned, struggling to breathe as sadness swamped him. Slowly he walked away, feeling their gazes hot on his pelt. Come on, you two! Lightning Tail's breezy mew rang out behind them. Let's go! Shouldn't we wait for Clear Sky? Sparrowfur called back. Clear Sky padded up from beside the rock. I'll catch up. He stepped into Greywing's path. I'll look after them, he promised.
He's stealing like 3 of his kits.
I guess not stealing, but, you know. Greywing narrowed his eyes. His brother had seemed so desperate when he'd begged the cats to join together, and the badger attack had clearly shaken him, but now his chest was puffed up as usual, and yet Greywing thought he saw a trace of fear darken the Tom's blue gaze. He suddenly realized that he'd never seen his brother look scared before. It unnerved him. What was he scared of? He tipped his head thoughtfully. Are you okay, Clear Sky? Of course! Clear Sky shook out his pelt. Are you still worried about what Fluttering Bird said? Greywing understood the power their dead sister's words must have had on Clear Sky. He alone shared the guilt of her death. If only they'd hunted better or longer, she might not have died. But we were young, he reasoned. And yet, I'm not worried, Clear Sky insisted. I just wish the other cats had listened to me. Greywing didn't argue. Clear Sky would never stop wanting to tell everyone what to do. He'd learned long ago that arguing with his brother was a waste of breath, and right now he had little breath to waste. So true. Are you sure you won't come with us? Clear Sky urged. Greywing shook his head. I have been through so much with Tall Shadow. I can't leave her now, and Pebbleheart needs me.
Hi, silly bit.
Clear Sky dipped his head. Very well. He headed towards the gorse entrance. It still shivered where Lightning Tail, Sparrowfur, and Owl Eyes had charged through.
Thank you.
Jagged Beak and Holly were herding their kits towards it. They stopped to let Clear Sky past. Jagged Peak looked over his shoulder. Come on, Greywing. Smells like more snow is on the way. The sooner we reach the pine, the better. Tall Shadow padded forward and scooped up Dew's in her jaws. Dew's wiggled like a caught fish.
I want to walk,
she squeaked. It's a long walk, Holly told her, and the snow outside camp is probably deep. Eagle Feather stuck his nose in the air.
No one's carrying me.
What about a badger ride? Mouse called.
All the way?
Eagle Feather glanced excitedly at the burly Tom. All the way, Mouse purred, crouching. Eagle Feather scrambled onto his broad shoulders.
Can I have a ride too?
Stormpelt asked shyly. Mudpaws trotted towards him. Climb up! He nosed the kit up onto his back and waited while Stormpelt straddled his shoulders, clinging on with his small paws and squishing low into his thick fur. Juno squealed louder, churning her paws with annoyance.
I want to ride too!
Okay. Tall Shadow put her down and leaned low to let her scramble onto her back. Greywing longed to help, but he knew he needed to save his breath. Jagged Peak was right. There was a scent of fresh snow in the air. A chill of it pierced his chest. Dapplepelt and Shattered Ice were talking in low voices beside the gorse wall of the camp. What if River Ripple sends us away? Dapplepelt asked. If he does, we can join another group. Shattered Ice looked at Tall Shadow. You'll take us in, won't you? Of course, Tall Shadow purred. Dew's was fidgeting on her shoulders. Come on! Jagged Peak was the first through the entrance. A panicked look flashed in Pebbleheart's eyes. What about my herbs? He glanced towards the jutting gorse. It trembled, shaking snow from its branches, and Cloudspot slid out. He held a wad of leaves in his jaws. He crossed the snowy grass and dropped it at Pebbleheart's paws. Take these. They'll keep you going for now. There are plenty of herbs left for you to get later. Pebbleheart blinked at the black Tom gratefully. What about you? I'll make myself a fresh bundle. He began to turn back to his den, then paused. There may even be better herbs in the forest. Pebbleheart nodded, his eyes lighting up. And the pines! I'll come and tell you if I find anything new, Cloudspots promised. Me too. Aw. Greywing saw them exchange a look so warm, he suddenly felt a flash of jealousy. Pebbleheart was clearly fond of the Tom who had taught him so much. Perhaps we should meet regularly to share what we learned, Cloudspot suggested. Pebbleheart nodded eagerly. Next new moon? At the 4 trees? Cloudspot swished his tail. I'll see you then.
It's when the medicine cats meet up.
Come on, Pebbleheart, Greywing called to the young Tom. The others were already filing out of camp. Pebbleheart picked up the bundle of herbs in his jaws and hurried through the tunnel after Mouseear. On the tabby's back, Eagle Feather squeaked as the branches scraped his spine, and he burrowed deeper into the Tom's fur. Greywing paused as he reached the entrance and looked back at the hollow. It was eerily quiet. Only the scuffing of Cloudspot's paws as he rummaged in his den broke the silence. Heart heavy, Greywing nosed his way through the gorse. Outside, snow had dusted the moor. The heather rocked as the wind swept across it. Dapplepelt and Shattered Ice were already headed towards the river. They seemed small under the great yellowing sky. Holly, Mouseear, Mudpaws, and Tall Shadow followed Jagged Peak over the grass. The tops of the pines showed in the distance, beyond the crest of the moor. Pebbleheart was running to catch up. Hurry, Greywing! Oh, hurry, Greywing! Jagged Peak called from the group.
Oh my god, random! When did you save up that much? Oh my god. Congrats to Random. You got the VIP dome. Wait, I'll give it to you right now. 1 second. Yeah! Hi, John!
Dang, I'm unstable apparently.
Roles manager.
Add new. It took a while. I guess it did, but still. I always get surprised when that happens. Otherworldly patron would always lurk and send in one singular bit every once in a while, and then all of a sudden showed up and had enough for a VIP, and I was like, what the?
Yay! Random is now a VIP. Congrats!
Woohoo! One day I will have VIP.
You'll make it one day, Ven. I'm glad you like lurking here. And I'm glad you made it!
Lokri Greywing's nostalgia towards the Hollow made me feel so nostalgic. It is really sad. It's like, dang, they're leaving it now. I lost my place. I lost my book. Oh, there it is. It reminded me when all the cats moved from the old forest. That was sad because it's like they didn't just leave the forest as it once was, like abandoned, you know? Like they're leaving the hollow and it's just empty. It's like a skeleton of what it once was. But when they left the forest, it was like gone. It had been destroyed and ravaged. So it was sad, but in a different way. Actually, you know what made me the saddest was when they left the elders in the River Clan camp to die. Like, what? That was messed up if you think about it. It was kind of crazy. That was so sad. Goodness. Okay, where was I? The errands didn't want to write the struggles of old cat. They only wanted to write one old cat struggling, didn't they? No, I guess Mouse. Oh my god, what is her name? Mouse ears? Mouse something? She wasn't quote unquote an elder yet.
Mousefur, yes! Oh my gosh, it's been so long I forgot her name. I'm crazy.
Mousefur and Longtail. But Longtail is just like blind-ish. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are the only like quote unquote older ones. The Longtail wasn't really old. Longtail is like young, but he has been with the elders for so long, he's like embraced elder. He's just like an old guy at heart now. He's like, back in my day. And Dustpelt is like, I was your mentor, dude. And he's like, or wait, no, Dustpelt was his apprentice, but still. It was dark, whatever. Dark Pelt. Dark Stripe. Still. He's like one of the, he's like not too old, but he is old. Now I can't remember. Okay, back to the book. I want to at least get far enough that when the food comes, then I'm at a good place to stop. Esperare. Pebbleheart picked up the bundle of herbs in his jaws and hurried through the tunnel after Mouseier. On the tabby's back, Eagle Feather squeaked as the branches scraped his spine, and he burrowed deeper into the Tom's fur. Wait, no, I already read all this. Hurry, Greywing! That's where I was. Jagged Peak called from the head of the group. Greywing stopped, his nose twitching. An unfamiliar scent was tainting the snow. Rogues had passed this way by the smell of it. They'd lingered by the camp entrance. There was a dent in the snow where they'd sat. Why hadn't they introduced themselves, as most rogues did? Out of curiosity, if not suspicion, unease pricked at Greywing's pelt. He thought he knew the scents of all the rogues who crossed the moor, but not these. Why does it matter? They were leaving the hollow. Greywing scanned the moor. Windrunner's camp was nearby. Memories of One Eye flashed in his mind. The strange rogues were hanging around. Her kits might be vulnerable. He decided to investigate. I'll follow your paw prints, he called to Jagged Peak. I'm gonna scout for prey. There's no need to alarm the kits. Don't be long. As Jagged Peak answered, Greywing sniffed the snow. Tracks led towards the river, Dapplepelts and Shattered Ices. Another set led towards the forest, Clear Sky's cats. A third scent carried the smell of the strangers. Greywing followed them downhill into the wide swath of heather. As the branches closed over his head, their scent grew stronger. 2 cats. He slowed his pace. He was still struggling to breathe deeply. He didn't want to meet these strangers face to face when he felt so weak. The curiosity and worry for Windrunner's kits drew him on. He pricked his ears as a growl echoed ahead. I don't have time! There was a snarl in the Tom's voice. An anxious mew answered it. But I don't want to go by myself. A shriek of pain sliced through the heather. Greywing froze. You're not a kid anymore. Oh my god. The first voice snapped. Greywing crept forward until he saw daylight ahead. The heather tunnel opened into a clearing, and Greywing spotted the ring-tail tip of a tabby flicking over the snow. Quickly he turned off the trail and pushed his way into the tangle of bushes. He moved slowly, slithering between the rough branches like a water snake moving through reeds. They crackled around him, their stems brittle and cold. What was that? He heard the stiff mew of one of the cats and froze. Probably a peasant or a rabbit. Prey? Excitement edged the she-cat's hiss. We'll eat later, snapped the Tom. We need to follow those cats. Follow those cats? Greywing stretched his ears. He slithered forward as lightly as he could until he was close to the edge of the heather, hoping its dusty scent would mask his own. Through the spiky branches, he could make out 2 cats. A broad-shouldered brown tabby faced a black she-cat. Both were scarred, their ears nicked at the tips and their fur crisscrossed by old wounds. The tabby's front legs were marked with a slash of white. His ears were torn, and half his whiskers were missing. The black cat's tail was short, squared at the end as though half of it had been lost in an accident. How does she balance with half a tail? Turns out, the cat balance thing is in how their body moves, and the tail doesn't help that much in it. I got really scared because of my cat, Honey. She only has half a tail, and it's like really crooked. And I was really scared that if she fell from a high place, she wouldn't be able to like spin in the air. But turns out it's not a problem. Just so you know. Greywing squinted through the heather. The black she-cat looked young, despite her scars. Her muscles were taut. The tabby's flanks sagged with age, but experience glinted in his eyes. And Greywing noticed his long claws flexing as he talked. He'd be a formidable enemy, Greywing guessed. The tabby went on. I want you to follow them, find out where they settle. I knew they'd leave this barren piece of land eventually. I need to know where they make camp, where they hunt, their habits, their weaknesses, everything. But why, Slash? The black cat's mew quavered. Don't be such a mouse-brain, Fern. The tabby lashed out a paw and caught her across the ear. Fern ducked away, a low whine in her throat. Just do as I tell you, Slash hissed. Watch and wait, and report back to me. Why can't you come with me? Greywing wondered why Fern wasn't happy to be away from her vicious companion. I've got other fish to catch. There was a menace in Slash's tone. Don't let me down, Fern. Starflower betrayed me, And she's lucky I let her live. I won't be so soft with you.
I won't let you down, Fern promised quickly, pressing her belly to the ground like a frightened kit.
Don't let them see you, Slash showed his teeth. The time comes, I want to see the surprise on their soft, kitty-loving faces for myself.
Kitty-loving faces? Yeah, because they're cats and they love other cats. I read Warriors High!
I'll be like a shadow, Fern mewed. You better be, or you know what I'll do to you.
Greywing saw Fern tremble as horror shone in her gaze. I know, Slash.
Good.
Slash straightened, then stalked away across the grass. Fern watched him leave, the terror in her eyes hardening to hate. Greywing's tail tip twitched uneasily. These rogues were going to be trouble, and yet their alliance was based on fear. That is their weakness. Kept still as Fern padded away. The black she-cat was heading across the slope, no doubt aiming for the thunder path in the pine forest beyond. He waited until Fern disappeared behind a wide clump of gorse, then wriggled out from the heather. Shaking clumps of leaf from his pelt, he scanned the moorside. How long had Slash been roaming their territory? He talked as though he'd been watching the cats for a while. And he knew Starflower. He must have known her father, One-Eye. Greywing's paws pricked. These rogues were like poisonous weeds. One-Eye had been killed, but Slash had grown in his place. Frustration flashed beneath Greywing's pelt. Will he never find peace? He ducked back into the heather. He had to catch up with the others without bumping into Fern. He followed an arching root around the gorse and slid from the heather near the top of the moor. From here he could see rolling countryside sweeping towards the mountains, and ahead, a steep, sharp slope down towards the thunder path. Shapes moved over it. Jagged Peak and the others. Bounding forward, Greywing hurried to catch up. He paced himself, trying to ignore the stabbing in his chest, which was tightening more as the wind chilled. Flakes of snow began to whip his flank. A thick fall was closing in, already swallowing the distant mountains. By the time he reached his friends, he could hardly see a tail length ahead. Greywing, is that you? Pebbleheart's voice called through the storm. Greywing followed it, relieved to see the young Tom and his campmates. The kits were still clinging to Mousiear, Mudpaws, and Tall Shadow. Snow coated their pelts. There'll be shelter in the forest, Jagged Peak called. Holly answered him. We'll have to cross the thunder path first. The ashrid tang of Black Trail touched Greywing's tongue. It must be close. How would they cross it when they could hardly see past their whiskers? He wove past Mousiear and Mudpaws and fell in beside Jagged Peak. Perhaps we should find cover and rest before crossing. No. Jagged Peak kept his gaze fixed forward. We're going to keep moving until we reach the forest. There'll be prey there and shelter, and the kits are cold and hungry. Greywing narrowed his eyes against the snow. Jagged Peak was acting like their leader. But he was right. They were close to the thunder path, and the pines lay just beyond. It might be a waste of time to scout a slope for somewhere to hide when they were certain the shelter lied ahead. The wind roared in his ears, growling louder, until Greywing realized that it wasn't just the wind. He froze. Watch out! As he spoke, huge eyes blazed through the snow. He cowered, blinded by their glare. A monster was pounding towards them. Get back! Jagged Peak tugged Holly and scrambled backward with a yowl. He pushed Greywing against Tall Shadow. Juno squeaked with terror as the monster roared past, a tail length ahead. Its massive back paws showed through the blizzard before it thundered away into the storm. That was close. Jagged Peak straightened. He glanced back at the others. Is everyone okay? Yes. Greywing was impressed by Jagged Peak's calmness. He checked the kits. They clustered together, tails bushed, while Pebbleheart and Tall Shadow crouched beside them. Was that a monster? Eagle Feather gasped. Yes, dear. Holly reached up and nuzzled her kit on Mousiear's back. We have to be careful. We will be, Jagged Peak growled. At least we know where the thunder path is. Greywing stared into the blizzard. We can't cross it now. Yes, we can. Jagged Peak stepped forward, then stopped. The last monster made the ground tremble before it reached us. He shuffled his paws until they were deep in the snow. I can feel when one's coming and warn you. Holly blinked at him. You can't just stand there, she gasped. What if one veers off its path and hits you? It won't, Jagged Peak told her. He's like a different cat.
Raywing glanced at Tall Shadow. She was staring at Jagged Peak in surprise. She caught Graywing's eye. I've never seen a cat so changed. Graywing nodded. I was thinking the same thing. Holly jerked her head around. It's amazing what a little love can do. Ooh, was that reproach in her mew? Oh my god! Burn! Oh, snap! Graywing felt a flash of guilt. Had he been too hard on his younger brother when all he needed was a little kindness? Yes, you were. Holly lifted her chin and patted to Jagged Peak's side. I trust you. She touched her muzzle to his cheek. I love Holly. Holly is so sassy. She doesn't stand for nothing. She's like the perfect cat for Jagged Peak, honestly. I wasn't sure at first, but now I see it. Now I understand. Get the kits across when Jagged Peak gives the word. Mousiear nodded and patted to where Jagged Peak marked the edge of the thunder path. Wait, warned Jagged Peak. The ground's trembling. Graywing saw him stiffen. Get away from the edge. As Mousiear backed away, Jagged Peak stood his ground. The wind's roar became a monster's howl. Graywing held his breath as his eyes lit Jagged Peak, horror scorching through him as the black paws of the monster loomed from the snow. But Jagged Peak hardly flinched as the monster hurled past. Graywing struggled to take a breath. Snow froze his mouth and made his chest burn. Now! Jagged Peak called. Mousiear and Mudpaws raced past him, the kids squealing. Graywing watched, trembling, as they disappeared into the blizzard. It's still safe! Jagged Peak yowled. Tall Shadow leaped forward. Holly raced after her, Pebbleheart at her heels. You too! Jagged Peak glared at Graywing through the snow. Graywing could hardly find the breath to answer. Oh, he's having an asthma attack. Jagged Peak ran towards him. Are you okay? It's hard to breathe in the snow, Graywing rasped. Jagged Peak pressed against him. Lean on me. Graywing felt Tom's strong shoulder against his flank. He rested against it, suddenly weak. Come on, Jagged Peak urged gently. I can't feel any monsters. Graywing focused on his paws, trying to sense vibrations in the earth, but he couldn't tell whether the ground was shaking or his legs. He glanced at Jagged Peak. His brother's gaze was fixed calmly ahead. It must be my paws. I can't be this weak. My cat mates need me. Jagged Peak shouldered him forward. Just keep moving, he grunted. Once we're in the shelter of the pines, you'll get more air. Graywing didn't answer. He stared ahead, thankful for Jagged Peak's strength. With faltering steps, he padded forward, letting his brother guide him. The snow was smooth beneath his paws, the ground hard as snow beneath it. They must be on the thunder path. He struggled to hurry. It's okay, Jagged Peak reassured him. The path's clear. Take your time. As snow whisked past his muzzle, Graywing felt dizzy. I can't do it, he gasped. You're gonna have to. Jagged Peak growled darkly. I can feel the ground trembling. Graywing tried to drag in air, his paws slithering beneath him. Hurry! Jagged Peak shoved his shoulder harder against Graywing's flank, then half lifted him onward. Graywing heard the roar of a monster. Lights flashed through the snow. The world seemed to tumble as Jagged Peak hurled him forward. We're going to die! Graywing rolled, the snow soft beneath him, and slid to a halt. The monster's howl ripped through his ear fur. Stones and ice chips blasted past his pelt. Acid smoke filled his nose, and then there was just snow. The monster was gone. Jagged Peak? Panic rippled through his pelt. Jagged Peak! I'm here! His brother's mew sounded triumphant in his ears. We made it! I can see the trees! Weak with relief, Graywing let Jagged Peak nudge him to his paws and staggered blindly forward. Dark shapes swirled in front of him, darkening more until eerie silence enfolded him. The snow had gone. The wind had dropped. Am I dead? Blinking open his eyes, Graywing gazed around. Tree trunks soared around them. Beneath his paws, he could feel a soft bed of needles. You made it! Holly raced from between the pines and pressed her cheek against Jagged Peak's. Of course we did. Jagged Peak nodded to Pebbleheart. Greywing's having his breathing trouble again. Pebbleheart dropped his bundle of herbs. I can smell coltsfoot here. He unrolled the wad of leaves with his nose and picked out a dull green sprig. It's dried from greenleaf, but it should still work. Greywing smelled the familiar scent of the herb. Relief flickered in his belly. Pebbleheart held out a stalk between his teeth, and Greywing took it. Thanks. He chewed it carefully to release the juices from the dried old stem before swallowing it. Let's rest here for a while. Tall Shadow shrugged Junos from her back. Junos squeaked as she landed.
The ground feels weird.
Eaglefeather and Stormpelt leaped down from Mudpaws and Mouse Ears.
It's all springy.
Eaglefeather bounced across the thick covering of needles.
It must be a tail length deep.
Stormpelt shuffled his paws into the brown needles until they disappeared.
Look, I've got no paws.
Greywing sat down, his chest loosening as the colt's foot began to work. Thanks, Pebbleheart, he murmured. I just hope there's more in this forest. Pebbleheart scanned the trees. The tall, straight trunks were cracked, like ancient prey dried in the sun. Shadows pooled between them. Here and there, dense patches of bramble crowded their roots. Greywing looked up. The sky was hidden by the thick branches, green even in leaf bare. Their tips leaned and creaked, stirred by the blizzard howling above them. But they stood firm, their roots dug deep into the peaty earth. What do you think? Tall Shadow followed Greywing's gaze upward. Greywing whisked his tail over the needle-strewn earth. A sharp tang of pine cut through the thickness in his chest. He felt the strength return to his paws. His shoulders relaxed. I think I'm gonna like it here. Should we make camp? Holly called. Where? Tall Shadow glanced around. Greywing stiffened as Slash's order to Fern flashed through his mind. I need to know where they make camp, where they hunt, their habits, their weaknesses, everything! Had Fern crossed the Thunderpath yet? Was she nearby? Greywing strained to see through the shadows, looking for a flicker of movement. Why couldn't Fern have an orange pelt? It was too easy for her to hide in here. Greywing? Tall Shadow was searching his gaze anxiously. Is something wrong? Your pelt's pricking. Nothing's wrong, Greywing told her quickly. There's nothing she could do about Slash's spy. Why spoil a pleasure she'd looked forward to for so long? You better tell her soon, though. Is the forest as good as you imagined? Tall Shadow purred and patted around the base of her pine, her paw steps no more than a whisper on the needles. It's even better. She pricked her ears. The wind sounds so far away. I can smell squirrel. Oh, I can smell squirrel. Mouseier meowed happily. Should we hunt? Mudpaws looked at Jagged Peak. Greywing blinked in surprise. Mudpaws was treating him like their leader. Tall Shadow sat down and gazed between the trees. She didn't seem to have noticed, or if she had, she didn't seem to care. Her green eyes shone. Her black pelt melted among the shadows as though she'd become part of her new home already. Tall Shadow, Jagged Peak called to her. Should we hunt? If you like. Tall Shadow shrugged. Holly's gaze followed her kits, who were scrambling over tree roots, their noses and tails twitching with excitement. With a leap, Junos hooked her claws into the bark and dangled from the trunk.
Look, I'm climbing.
Don't go too high, Holly warned. Pebbleheart tasted the air. Maybe we should find somewhere to build nests before we hunt. Let's split up, Jagged Peak suggested. I'll hunt with Mudpaws and Mouseier. You, Holly, and Tall Shadow can take Greywing and the kits to find somewhere to rest tonight. Take Greywing and the kits! Greywing felt the prick of resentment. Jagged Peak was talking like he was one of them. Oh, how the tables have tabled. Now Greywing is the one who's handicapped versus Jagged Peak. Stormpelt tipped his head.
Why can't Greywing hunt with you? He's a great hunter.
Greywing's not as fast as he used to be, Jagged Peak answered. Holly nodded. He'll be safer if he stays with you. Eaglefeather puffed out his chest.
I'll look after him.
Jagged Peak looked fondly at his kit. Greywing will be grateful to have such a strong kit watching over him. Greywing flattened his ears. I don't need anyone watching over me, he snapped at Jagged Peak. Just because you saved my life doesn't mean you get to treat me like a useless kit.
Junos bristled. Kits aren't useless.
Tall Shadow stepped between them. I'm sure Jagged Peak didn't mean anything, Greywing, she soothed. Jagged Peak dipped his head. Of course not, but we all know that the fire damaged your breathing. You're not the cat you used to be. Anger surged through Greywing. He flexed his claws, wondering if he had enough breath to scratch his younger brother's ear. How dare he? Tall Shadow flicked her tail. Perhaps you should hunt, Jagged Peak, she suggested diplomatically. Greywing frowned. Love hadn't made Jagged Peak confident. It had made him arrogant. Bro, no it hadn't. Be careful, he muttered. Don't forget that you don't know what's out there. Perhaps I should warn them about Fern and Slash. This wasn't the perfect home they believed it was. There was danger lurking in the shadows. Then he glanced at Tall Shadow, worrying darkening her gaze for the first time since she'd set paws in the forest, and swallowed back his anger. He wasn't going to spoil her moment. I'm sorry. He'd warned them about Slash when the time was right. Perhaps he wouldn't need to. He might be able to find Fern and talk to her. The rogue didn't seem to be a bad cat. She was just scared of Slash. Greywing felt suddenly tired. They hadn't even found a new camp, and trouble was already stalking them. Come on, he heaved to his paws. Let's find somewhere sheltered to build nests. As they set off, Eagle Feather scampered ahead. Can I have my own nest? When you're older, Holly called after him. Greywing scanned the shadows beyond the kit warily. Stay close, Eagle Feather, until we're sure it's safe here. Yay! The Oakwood table? Is that a Slytherin? We made good time today. Good time and good amount. I have to go eat dinner because I want to eat it while it's warm because it's Greek food and I really want to eat it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna head out now. Let me find someone to toss you guys at. Oh, you want to watch the new Pokemon game? I missed Warrior Cat Wednesday too. I'll be honest, I'm not really... I think I've lost the Pokemon excitement recently. I think maybe the only way they could bring me back in is if they had another, like, where you can pet your Pokemon again. But, like, I don't actually know maybe if the new one has that or not, but I don't know. Something more intimate. Something like the 3DS. Anyways, we'll have fun. Raid. After everything that's happening, the fact that it's crazy. It does not look like an 80. Okay, so I just bought the Digimon Time Stranger game and it's like basically the same price as the Pokemon game. But looking at the difference in quality is insane. The cities are so bustling. It's so filled with color and like detail and all sorts of stuff. And then you look at the Pokemon one and it doesn't look quite as nice. It looks so empty. Okay, guys. Have fun. Maybe you can find joy in the Pokemon game. I think Luetta's just started streaming. Okay, 40 minutes. So yeah, probably started at 5. All right, guys. Bye bye. I sadly won't be able to see you guys until next week because I'll be overworking. But if I do get a chance to stream and I'm not like exhausted, then I'll stream something. Stanley Parable, maybe? That requires not brain. Bye bye, guys.